Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you can settle down, we'd like to get our meeting started. First, we'd like to reconvene from closed session. There is nothing to report. I want to adjourn the special meeting at 6:03, and I want to call to order the regular City Council meeting at 6:03 on Wednesday, May the 24th. I'd like to request City Clerk to read the Metro replay schedule.
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting of the Elk Grove City Council will be replayed on Metro Cable Channel 14 on Friday, May 26th at 1 p.m. and Monday, May 29th at 6 p.m. It's being closed captioned. It will be webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. City Council meeting videos are also archived at the city's website at elkgrovecity.org. For members of the audience who may have personal electronic devices, please place them on silent mode during the meeting. Elk Grove City Council welcomes, appreciates, and encourages participation in the City Council meeting. City Council requests that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes per person so that all present will have time to participate. City Council reserves the right to reasonably limit the total time for public comment on any particular noticed agenda item as it may deem necessary. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, please complete a speaker card. They're the blue cards, which can be found at the back of the room, and provide it to the Assistant City Clerk prior to consideration of the agenda item. Thank you.
If you can call the roll, please.
For the roll call, Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Hume.
Here.
Councilmember Suen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Detrick.
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
Here. And our next item is Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to invite Leo Fassler to lead us in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. The beginning of every regular City Council meeting, the council also like to have a moment of silence, and I'd like to invite the members of the public to join the City Council in a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
There'll be approval of the agenda.
So move.
Got a motion? Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Have an agenda. And let's see, next item is item 3.
We don't have any closed session agenda items, which would take us to section 4, which are presentations and announcements, starting with item 4.1, which is the key of the city presentation to Leo Fassler.
All right. Mr. Fassler, why don't you come on up? Before I invite the entire City Council to come down, I'd like to read some information about you and your contributions to our community. Leo has lived in the rural community of Elk Grove for the last 53 years. He has been committed to bettering the city of Elk Grove and preserving its rural heritage. Since the city's incorporation in 2000, Leo has been a constant and regular fixture at virtually every Planning Commission City Council meeting, where he not only attended but regularly provided meaningful public comment on issues. His passion to preserve rural Elk Grove kept him abreast of virtually all city issues, which he then disseminated down to the great Sheldon Road Estates Homeowner Association, as well as Sheldon Community Association for their members' information and knowledge. Leo was instrumental in helping to establish the Folks for Oaks program, which is comprised of volunteers dedicated to reforesting rural Elk Grove and increasing tree canopy. Additionally, he has helped create and preserve the rural roads policies and standards which exist today that ensures Elk Grove maintains its unique rural roots. Leo most recently donated farm equipment, which is exhibited on the new roundabout at Waterman Road, Sheldon Road, which helps promote a rural lifestyle. It is with these reasons and many, many more that Leo is deserving of a key to the city of Elk Grove. Mr. Fassler, thank you for everything that you have done for our community. And I'd like to invite the entire City Council to present this key of the city to you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, I'm Leo. Who's this guy? Oh, I see. Okay.
Let's get the pictures.
Hey, Mary, they said they want you up here.
Everybody looking right here, there we go. A couple more right here, please. More, got it, okay.
Thank you.
You'd like to say something?
Okay. Well, this is a real privilege and an honor, and I don't know what I get half choked up talking about this, but it's a wonderful thing, and my experience dealing with all of the people here, everybody from Pat Humes, who's been around a long time, and Steve and everybody else, police chief, everybody, all wonderful people to work with. And it's been a real pleasure. You know, it's just, you very seldom find that in an organization. And I hope I was able to contribute something over the years. And all I can say is this is a real honor. And I thank you all so much for recognizing me. Thank you.
Leo, you were definitely a contributor. You were always, in my opinion, a voice of reason on the citizen side, and you were always very well balanced. You brought in a wealth of experience from both your professional background as well as your personal background and obviously your institutional knowledge of the city of Elk Grove for your longevity. And most of all, you know, you through the years, you've become a dear friend, and I'll cherish that more than anything else.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Leo, I'd like to echo what the Vice Mayor just said, and but in addition to that, before I even got on the council, when I sat in the audience, you were always the positive individual, and it's just really great to hear your comments. Thoughtful comments were also always followed by positive comments, and we just missed having you here. So glad to see you.
Thank you so much. One of the things I've learned over the years is it doesn't pay to gripe about anything. If you have a problem, you bring up the problem, and then you offer a possible solution, and you go from there and work with people, And you folks have all been a wonderful group of people to work with.
We can all learn from that. Thanks, Leo.
Thank you so much.
The only thing I'd like to add, Leo, is I've always appreciated your constructive contribution. I think that's so very important. It's so easy to criticize and to poke fun at things, but it's a whole different element to contribute and be a part of the team. And you've always been that, and I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Leo, you and I have been at this a long time, and you probably attended more city meetings than anyone else in this room. So if you think you haven't contributed, you're way off the mark, and I just wish you the best happiness in your retirement.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Our next item is 4.2, and I'd like to invite the Vice Mayor to present it, please.
Sergio, you join me at the podium? For those of you who don't know, Mayor Joe Compass, he's our Elk Grove postmaster. And it's been a pleasure to jointly work with you on what I'm going to read about here is that the city of Elk Grove recognizes and appreciates the National Association of Letter Carriers for the National Stamp Out Hunger food drive that was just the 25th of this month. And I think one of the most important things and I know that Marie could really validate this, there's a lot of food banks around the area. And you had a choice of who you served with those donations, and we've tried very hard to keep all the donations in Elk Grove to stay in Elk Grove. And so when I contacted you and you assured us that you'd work with the city of Elk Grove and the Elk Grove Food Bank to keep everything that the letter carriers picked up inside Elk Grove would stay here. And that was just a huge for the recipients that Marie and her team serves from the Elk Grove Food Bank. But I want to read this because I think it's important for everybody to understand. Every second Saturday in May, letter carriers in more than 10,000 cities and towns across America collect the goodness and compassion of their postal customers who participate in the National Association of Letter Carriers, also known as the NALC, Stamp Out Hunger National Food Drive, the largest one-day drive in the nation. In the 25th, for the 25 years, the annual food drive of the NALC has helped restock food banks, pantries, and shelters around the country, purposely targeting the food drive in late spring when food banks often start running out of their donations that were collected in the winter holiday periods. And the food drive has surpassed the mark of 1 billion pounds of food collected over the last 25 years through the efforts of more than 1,500 NALC branches across the country. Do you know how many letter carriers that represents by any chance? Okay, obviously a lot. And the Elk Grove NALC branch generated over 30,000 pounds of food in 2017, with the donations going to the Elk Grove Food Bank. That was a 70% increase over last year. So that's phenomenal. So now therefore be resolved that the City Council of the City of Elk Grove hereby recognizes, celebrates, and thanks our local letter carriers for their efforts in conducting the regional Stamp Out Hunger annual food drive, congratulating them on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the fundraising event, and thanking them for their assistance to the community of Elk Grove. Signed this 24th day of May, 2017, from the entire Elk Grove City Council. Thank you, Mary Jo.
I would like to thank Vice Mayor Steve Dittrich and Mayor Steve Lee and the council members. I would like to accept this on behalf of our cares, our city cares and rural cares. They're the one that pretty much did all the work. And I will relay this to them, both our main office and the one in our care annex. So, and also I want to thank Marie, working together. So I'm just glad we are able to help the Elk Grove Food Bank. And it was about what, at least 20,000 pounds more than we collected. So it's like it's a record. So, and also the community for you know, giving and just getting together and trying to help everybody out. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. We do have a speaker who signed up to speak, Diane Hollingshead.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. I have with me here also Del Webb, to thank the postmaster for all he's done. Also to thank you. That same day, you had the Amgen race here, so it made for a very long day for your mail delivery. I think I saw some out still at 6 o'clock in the evening. But what I wanted to do here today is to bring your attention to the Run for Hunger, and that's our next event coming up. I wanted to let you know that that's on Saturday, June 24th. It starts off at 7:30 with a quarter-mile kids fun run, then a half mile, and then at 8 o'clock is the 5 and 10K walk or run. And so I just wanted to make sure you have it on your calendar. Okay, and everyone else too. And at this time, we have 25 teams already signed up. And the reason why I have Del Webb here with me tonight, they have over 130 members on their team.
Wow.
Wow.
So thank you.
Yeah.
So go ahead, say it.
We have a committee person, Regina Scott, who dedicates herself annually to spearhead getting the community involved, Del Webb involved. So each year we get more and more people to walk. And we're an active adult community. Last year, an 80-year-old plus placed first place, I believe. So there's no stopping us. And this lovely lady, Gloria, last year, she ran the day after receiving her chemo treatment. Or walked, but she finished the walk.
The other thing is when you register, you can see on the registration place that there's a place to pledge. So if you'd like to pledge towards either one of these ladies or anybody else that you see that is already registered, make a pledge in their name. You can also make a gift. So if a grandparent wants to register their child, a grandchild, they can register for that grandchild. So there's all different ways to get involved. There's the virtual runners, so you don't even have to come out that day, but you can still support. We'll have music. I just heard that we're going to have the Sacramento Mandarin Drum and Bugle Corps come out to start the race to get some hype going on. We have a DJ along the route with some other music. We have the Chick-fil-A cow confirmed. They're going to be there with a whole bunch of other mascots to go out and run with the kids. Then we'll have the Post Festival with refreshments from Sprouts grocery store and a lot of information booths to share their business and provide snacks throughout the morning. And it's all for a good cause. And I guess what I'd like to end with, and this is something personal, the measure of a city is how well we take care of those in need. And I think Elk Grove does a very fine job of that. So thank you very, very much.
Diane, don't go away for a second. I just have to take this opportunity since you're up here, because I'm not sure how many people know how hard you work year in, year out. Your tireless efforts ongoing. I've witnessed you at every single event you go to. You are always out there promoting the Run for the Hungry. You did it at the school districts. You did it at the Strauss Tea Festival. I mean, you always have Run for the Hungry on your mind, and the event is growing, is a success, and continues to be a growing success because of you and the team that you're leading. So thank you so much for your hard work.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And you always do it with a smile.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And again, thank you for the Amgen. I really had a great time.
All right, next item.
Take us to item 4.3, the Disability Advisory Committee Annual Update.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Bruce Cager, and I'm the newest member of your Disability Advisory Committee here in Elk Grove. Let's see. This is a composition of our current committee, ranging in years of Ted having upwards of 6 years, and with me being the newest member, I have exactly 10 months experience. And when the opportunity presented itself to where I could come forward and present the status of what your committee is doing, then I wanted to at least do my part. One of the things we want to do, the committee, is to recognize our past committee chairperson, Nana Tufuo. She's been, has over 8 years' experience, and the last, she has been the chairperson prior to her resignation in 2016. Her medical background and her experience in dealing with autism provided tremendous viewpoints and knowledge to the committee and understanding what autism is about. The committee members wanted me to emphasize that she is truly missed, but I look at the bright side. Her departure allowed me to stand here in front of you as the newest committee member. Okay, some of the accomplishments in 2016. The committee did provide feedback on the city's general plan. Specifically, the recommendations included in any of the new developments, look at public transportation services, include potential hospitals in the plan, and then explore opportunities, job opportunities for Elk Grove residents with disabilities. We also completed our 4th Annual Disability Awareness Day. As you can see, some of these pictures are not from the prior one, but the year before, 2015 Disability Awareness. But we give you opportunity for city employees, staff to participate in it. For the 2016 effort, we had approximately 29 participants. And one of the things I want to focus attention on is with Mr. Jordan that's sitting in the wheelchair, we have a wheelchair module where we have participants that get in a wheelchair and travel throughout the area outside to really experience what challenges that individuals that are in wheelchair face. So, and it was a good success. Continuing on with our accomplishments, providing feedback to transit, specifically in the ADA reasonable accommodation policy, and reviewing that and providing recommendations. And then obviously our support in a proclamation of the White Cane Safety Day, and then the proclamation of October being the Disability Employment Awareness Month. Once again, continuing on with our accomplishments, a 10th annual Above and Beyond Accessibility Award was presented to Jonathan Sparks. So on the left here, Tim, our committee members on the right, is presenting it to Jonathan, and he was recognized for his support for the Special Olympics effort in Elk Grove and also in the state. Our focus for 2017 continue on with reviewing and supporting the transit and the event services, including providing feedback to the transit on the comprehensive operations analysis, continuing working with Public Works in the accessibility review and providing them feedback, then help plan and execute our 5th Annual Disability Awareness Day. And once again, we want to have it open to all Elk Grove staff. So if any of the members in front of me haven't participated, it's a good opportunity to feel and actually experience firsthand potential disabilities that some of our community members face. Any questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for all you guys do, Bruce.
Okay.
Appreciate the feedback that you're able to give our team to make the lives as good as we can for those that are less fortunate.
Okay. Okay. Sure thing.
Thank you, sir. Next item, please.
Take us to section 5, general public comment.
And we have a few individuals sign up to speak. First speaker is Jack Colson. Following Jack is Emily Butler. Jack, come on up.
it's interesting that the gentleman just before me was talking about disabilities. I live on Locust Street, ride my bicycle over to visit a friend on Elk Grove Boulevard, Bert Mitchell, and I cross the railroad tracks. From the time that they repaired the railroad tracks till today, well, and existing, it's a real dangerous situation because if you look at the way the sidewalk used to be, it kind of went like this and then perpendicular to the tracks and then straightened out again. Now, when they replaced the tracks, they laid in these big, long concrete plates with steel angle all the way around the corners. Okay, if a person is in a wheelchair, good point. I ride my bicycle down there and I have to literally turn to miss these things and they stick about this high. There's a little bit of asphalt that covers over the edge, but the sharp corners like a sawtooth. All I'm asking is somebody take a look at it, because somebody could get seriously hurt, including myself. Thank you.
Jack, I believe we sent this to Public Works, and I think your son gave me the information.
Oh, my nephew
Or
Brian?
your nephew? Okay, and Bob, maybe you want to address that?
Sure, we've been working with Union Pacific to come back and actually extend the panels so that you have an easier access back and forth. And because it's within the UP right-of-way, we have to rely on them to come back. So we've been working, trying to get them back.
Okay, I have maybe a possible solution to that. Where the corner, let's say this is the plate, the asphalt comes out and stops before it hits the end of that plate. If they extend the asphalt beyond that plate, I think that'd be a good solution.
Generally speaking, UP follows their own improvement standards.
Do we have any follow-up timeframe with them on this?
I don't on this one. I know we've been we've been working with them, talking to them, trying to get them to come back. I don't have a time frame now. I certainly can contact you. We can go back, see if we can get a timeline
Yeah,
and
we
certainly.
talked before as long as,
Okay.
as well as Brian.
Sure. And we
Thank
can
you.
try to get back to them.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Emily Butler, following Emily is Maggie Ellis.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Emily Butler, and I am the executive director of Sacramento Splash. Before I start, I just want to assure you I'm not checking Facebook or anything. These are just my notes. So I am here at the request of several 4th and 5th grade teachers located at schools within the city of Elk Grove, just to provide some background information related to the funding of Splash's stormwater education program known as Life in Our Watershed, investigating vernal pools. So first up, I would like to apologize for taking up your valuable time at a board meeting with this. I was very hopeful that this could be worked out at a staff level, but it seems that we've kind of come to this now. So this year, Splash delivered the Life in Our Watershed program to 98 classes across Sacramento County, including 20 in the city of Elk Grove. This funding was made possible through the drainage fund of the city of Elk Grove in order to achieve permit compliance when it comes to education and outreach related to stormwater. So just to roll us back quickly here, Splash was founded in 1999 by a consortium of 3 local municipalities. That was Regional San, the County of Sacramento Department of Water Resources, and the City of Sacramento Department of Utilities. And basically the reason it was founded was in order for those funding partners to be able to achieve permit compliance in terms of stormwater education in classrooms at a low, stable cost. Basically, instead of sending valuable engineers out into classrooms to try to teach kids something about stormwater, why not contract this out? Rancho Cordova added in a few years ago after they separated their stormwater permit off from the counties. But back in 2010, the city of, Regional San began a 5-year funding phase down of the program. The reason for this was they had hit a whole bunch of regulatory issues that were going to be extremely expensive, and they were the only one of the original funding partners not to have a requirement to do stormwater education and outreach under an NPDES permit. So at that point, we then had 7 classes at Carroll Elementary, which is located within the city of Elk Grove, that were unfunded. And so we approached the city at the beginning of 2015-16 about gap funding for these 7 classes. Public Works staff very understandably said, well, that's a little weird if we only fund 7 classes at this one school. So the request was made that we submit a proposal to expand this the following year. So the following year is this year, and it expanded to 20 classes within the city. And so the reason this became possible was because we were sent through the Community Service Grant, or CSG program route, because we were told repeatedly that it was not possible for Public Works to execute a fee-for-service contract directly with Splash to provide these services the way the other municipalities did. So this seemed like a convenient way to make this happen, and I know I'm out of time. I guess what I really want to say is that fundamentally, the CSG program has been a very poor fit in terms of funding this program. Grants, as you know, are generally intended for discrete projects with discrete labor and direct costs associated with them, not ongoing funding for a program that all of these municipalities have contributed to over an 18-year period. So I will not bore you with the details, but I will submit some background for you on what the administrative challenges associated with this process have been. Suffice it to say, my board and I have reached the conclusion that if truly the CSG funding mechanism is the only way for the city of Elk Grove to support this program, that is a very small nonprofit, we are simply not in a position to deal with the administrative challenges associated with that. We will need to pull out of the city of Elk Grove and go offer those slots to other jurisdictions that are willing to execute a simpler funding mechanism for this. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I believe there's some teachers behind me.
Bob is, if you could elaborate on that as our Public Works Director, because I know that you've had some correspondence with us on that.
Sure, and my staff and I have met with Ms. Butler several times. So the city, along with all of its other stormwater co-permittees in the county, City of Sacramento, the other cities, pool their money into a partnership to do public outreach as required by our stormwater permit. And we've been doing that for a number of years, and a portion of that funding goes to the SPLASH program. Ms. Butler approached us last year and provided the same information and asked if there was a way the city could provide funding. And so what we came to was, well, we have the Community Service Grant program. We could budget money if she applied and the council ultimately awarded a grant, then we could fund it that way. And that's actually what happened. Ms. Butler and her organization did make an application through the program and were awarded $80,000. This year, as she said, she found the program's documentation reporting requirements rather onerous, and she had difficulty dealing with those, and she didn't want to apply through the program again. And I explained to her, we were set up and would be able to fund through the program if she was selected again, but she would need to apply, and she elected not to apply. Now, because it's public funds, I can't just give her an $80,000 contract. I said the other option it would be for us to issue an RFP, which would mean that she, her organization, as well as others who want to provide public outreach and education related to stormwater quality, could propose. I mean, that's one route we could go through, although at this time, from a stormwater permit compliance standpoint, we're in compliance. What we do now in outreach and education, through the partnership and through our other efforts, we are in compliance. So it would be a difficult thing to be able to make the case that we needed to expend this funding. And so while I advised her to go through the grant program, she's elected not to. So our hands are a bit tied here.
Thanks, Bob. For the sake of the kids, what other opportunities do we have to provide this education?
Well, a portion of this education is provided through our contribution to the partnership. So some of this still goes on, I believe, although at a much lower level. And that's the way it's been now for a number of years up until this past year when the additional funding was provided through the grant program. And I understand Ms. Butler's concern is it was $80,000, a significant amount of money, and she was able to provide services The only other way we could do it really would be to issue an RFP and ask for those type of services and allow any organization to submit proposals. And then we go through a process of reviewing those and deciding which is the most advantageous to the city, and then move forward.
Bob, isn't this the same procedures that all the other nonprofits that come to us through the grants have the same reporting mechanism that they are required to do?
Yes, it is. Yes, that's correct.
And so just to be clear, I think one of the clarifications that I am looking for from Public Works and potentially from the board is this in fact a policy issue? Is this a matter that Public Works is not allowed to directly contract with Splash the way all of the other co-permittees do? If that is the case, I have not heard that to date, but if that is the case, then I will walk away from this. It is not what I want to do. I feel an obligation to the students and the teachers in Elk Grove to try to make this work. But if in fact this is the only funding mechanism, and I really don't want to get into the weeds about why this isn't working, but I promise you this is not just me whining about some paperwork. There are fundamental reasons that this is a poor fit for the program. But what I would like to know is this truly not an option to go through an RFP or to somehow exempt this and create a contract directly with Public Works? Because at this point, that is really the only option for my organization moving forward. We are very small. I am the only full-time administrator in the program, and the burden imposed by this, and this poor fit between the SPLASH program and the CSG program makes it impossible to move forward with this mechanism.
So I would ask the city attorney then, is there an issue with the fact that, to the Public Works Director's point, we do not need this program to be in compliance, and so then therefore would letting out a non-competitive contract to a single source in excess of the city manager's authorized amount equate to a gift of public funds?
Would not be a gift of public funds necessarily, but the city manager would not be authorized to sign a contract of this size. Her authority is $50,000. That would take city council approval. Typically, that process goes through a competitive process. We have our grant process that we go through, and I suppose if you wanted to override that, that's not an impossibility, but that is a process that we've gone through historically, and that would take council approval and direction to do that.
So kind of somewhere between Ms. Butler's point and Mr. Murdoch's point is the fact that he doesn't have the authority to enter into a single source contract of this size.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
And just to be clear, while I think administratively doing an RFP for this type of work, particularly given that there aren't really a lot of competitors out there, this program was built by stormwater permittees for stormwater permittees, and is specifically called out in the NPDES permit as a program that could be supported in order to achieve regulatory compliance. But I have absolutely no problem with an RFP if that is the preference of the council. For me, I will go toe-to-toe with anybody in terms of our ability to provide high-quality stormwater education in your schools.
Would the timing affect, the timing to advertise, award, bring to council, how does that impact your program?
So I think that that's actually a really great question, because it has been part of the issue associated with the CSG grant, is just the requirements and basically just trying to shoehorn this program into that system has resulted in very extensive delays. So ideally, we know that funding is in place for classes within a certain jurisdiction by no later than August. That being said, the drop dead on this is that teachers have to come in for training in early December. So particularly if it appears that moving forward allows for a more reliable source of funding so these teachers aren't on hold all the time, we could definitely work within whatever timeline the city required to make that work.
One of the things that I think is important to consider is it sounds like the issue is not necessarily the process, but it's ultimately the agreement that the city has with the program. And so if we went through a separate process and did an RFP, the agreement's still going to be the same. We have a requirement that we receive reports and information about how that money is spent. And it sounds like that's some of the concern as far as the administrative components of the agreement. So the agreement's not going to change.
Oh, no, just so you understand, the problem is not in terms of reporting and being clear about what the city is getting for its money. I do that for all of the other municipalities. The issue is much more that this is set up as a grant project, right, where there's very clear labor and direct costs associated with this particular project. That is virtually impossible to achieve in this system where all of these municipalities have fee-for-service contracts, they all pitch into the pot, make it happen for everybody's kids. So there's this very, very long back and forth with the CSG grant administrator trying to basically figure out, okay, well, this percentage of this expense should be allocated to the elementary program. No, it should be this much. So it just turned into a very burdensome process trying to make that part fit. But in terms of reporting requirements and all of that, I'm very well aware of what we would need to produce in order to assure the city that it was getting what it paid for.
Well, it may be helpful to understand exactly what the concerns are with the current process in order for us to be able to see if we can address that through some other.
Right, exactly. And that's
means.
just, I just didn't want to drag
So we
everyone
can't
here
really
through the
solve the
weeds.
problem here, I think, in this forum.
If council, why don't we have them sit down and?
Yeah, I think that would be best, is have
That would make
staff
sense,
and
yeah.
Butler get on the same
Bob,
page.
I did want to ask you a question, Bob. Let's say if there was a consensus to go with an RFP, is the timeline in which Ms. Butler shared, is that reasonable in terms of going out and?
Well, first, the RFP couldn't be structured so it asked for classroom specific. I mean, that would be basically tailoring the scope to her program. We would have to do some type of RFP that deals with stormwater education and outreach. So there, you know, it may not be as specific as Ms. Butler would like, but if we do an RFP, it's going to take several months to go through the process, to draft it, to issue it, to get responses, to interview, select, and then ultimately come back to the city council with a recommendation. You're talking 2-3 months.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a consensus here directing a sit-down. We good with that?
I'm sorry, did you say that you weren't interested in an RFP because of the restrictions? Because I thought.
No,
that's what you said.
I'm
Okay,
fine. I'm fine with an RFP as long as the result of this is that essentially the city of Elk Grove funds the program using the same contract mechanism that all of the other permittees do. As long as we get to that outcome, I have no problem with how we get there.
So maybe one of the items would bring, if you could, if it's not confidential, to be able to bring one of your other contracts or several of your other contracts in to have them reviewed to see if it's something that our city attorney could support.
That would be, yeah, I've shared them with Public Works, but I would be happy to pass them along to the city attorney. So just to be clear, who should we be sitting down with?
I think it's Jason.
Jason, would you spearhead it?
Okay, excellent.
Very good, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Butler. Next speaker is Maggie Ellis. Following Maggie Ellis is Mia Wagley.
It won't fall down. I'll hold on to it. Good evening, council members. Thank you for your time tonight and the opportunity to speak with you. I'm actually piggybacking on Emily. My name is Maggie Ellis. I am a teacher of 5th grade students at Carroll Elementary School. And I'm part of the reason why you're getting emails through change.org. Tonight I'm speaking on behalf of my colleagues at Carroll, Marion Mix, Arlene Hine, McKee Elementary Schools. What all these schools have in common is that they are within the Elk Grove city limits, and they have classes that participate in the Sacramento Splash watershed curriculum and field experience. I'm very hopeful for the conversation that's here tonight, but I want to continue on with my prepared statements just to stay on track. If you're not familiar with this program, it provides teachers with thorough lessons, 3 binders, focused on the watershed, California vernal pool history, plant and animal science, and water conservation. Classroom instruction, hands-on experience, and research are key components of the program, culminating in students demonstrating their knowledge during a field tour with nature guides who are volunteers out at the Mather vernal pools. If you haven't had the opportunity to go out there, I would suggest you look at the website and see when there's a chance for you to go and see this amazing, amazing landscape that many of us have no clue even exists in our area, and it is endangered. Our school site has been involved with Splash curriculum for 10 years. We are very critical when we select our field trips, as we want them to be the ones that students receive the best educational value and will be remembered when we are adults like us, when they are adults like us. Splash has been the only science field trip that we feel directly connects our science curriculum and makes an impact on our students and our community. Parents often tell us how their children come home reminding them about conservation, something we should have a heightened awareness of after the severe drought. We even had a parent who was a land developer whose child schooled him on the importance of not building on vernal pools. I even have the opportunity, many of you know Rob Pierce with the school district. He came to my classroom while we were actually raising fairy shrimp. So he had the opportunity to see what it is that this little critter that is annoyance to him that he can't build on. So the educational value goes many, many different directions from this program. Through this program, children become the conduit of knowledge and change. Last year, my team was on pins and needles waiting to hear whether we would be able to participate in Splash. The thought that we would not be able to offer this experience to our students was painful. When we received the news that a grant was approved from the 2016-17 school year, we celebrated and breathed a sigh of relief, and we were very grateful for that funding. But now we find ourselves in the same situation this year, and we hope that together we can find a solution that is a long-term commitment, not a year-to-year wait and see. Can I finish?
Sure.
Thank you. Stormwater education is a requirement that the city of Elk Grove must meet, and Splash has been proven to assist municipalities in meeting those requirements. The funding that is contributed to the larger consortium only funds 6 classroom 1-hour presentations for the entire city of Elk Grove. To me, that doesn't mean meeting your requirements. While things may have been done a certain way in the past here in Elk Grove, it may not have been the most efficient or effective way to meet your mandates. Ideally, we would love to be able to count on the city to fund Splash so that schools located in Elk Grove can continue to participate and develop students who protect our water and our environment. It would be a sad statement that EGUSD schools in neighboring cities can participate, but Elk Grove schools do not. I want to thank you for your time, and please let us know if you would like any additional information from the teachers at our schools. And if you would like to look at my curriculum, it's right here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis, and for the record, I did have a chance to go out there. It's pretty nifty, yeah. Our next speaker is Mia Wagley. Come on up, Mia.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Mia Wagley from Carroll Elementary's 5th grade, and I am here to ask if you could keep the Splash program in Elk Grove. This year, I learned about the Sacramento watershed. I became knowledgeable about the critters in the vernal pools. Before I learned about them, I didn't realize how they affected my life. I didn't even know they existed. I also learned that some of the things that my family and I do can accidentally pollute our streams and rivers. For example, if we put too much fertilizer on our lawn, water from our sprinklers can wash out most of it into a storm drain. Storm drains lead to nearby streams and rivers. If we pollute the water that goes into streams, we can pollute the fresh water we drink. We only have a limited amount of fresh water. It is important to me that next year's fifth graders and future classes are able to experience the Splash lessons in fields. They need to have hands-on projects that they will remember. I remember when I first arrived there, the field was not what I imagined. It was full of life. I see a snake. I've got a fairy shrimp. This is amazing. Please review your budget and consider the importance of stormwater education. Thank you for your time.
Nicely done.
Very good, Mia. Hey, Mia, I got a question for you. What's your favorite creature that you discovered out there?
I really like the fairy shrimp. It was really cool.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Excellent job, Mia.
Our next speaker is Jeff Wagley. Following Jeff is Lynn Wheat.
That kid is good.
She set the bar pretty high, Pops.
She did. So I'll tell you, I had nothing, and she wrote that herself. That was 100% from her heart. So I just wanted to speak also on Splash real quick. So my daughter went to private school for 7 years. Well, pretty much daycare through 4th grade. And we did a ton of field trips. And we paid for those field trips. But she learned so much from them. 3rd grade, they went to Stories and Stones and Angels Camp, and we still hear about minerals and fossils all the time. This year, we're in public school, and it's been amazing. It was a great transfer. We made a great decision to go to public school. We moved to Elk Grove because of the schools. We bought a house here. We finally decided it's time, and Mia went into public school. Splash offers something that the regular curriculum cannot. They went a couple months ago or a month or so ago, and since then, that's all she talks about. We drive over the causeway. Dad, did you know about? Oh, yes, I knew about that. The kids love the program. They learn so much, and it's something you cannot learn sitting in a classroom. And Bob, I heard you say that we meet the minimum requirements. Elk Grove Unified can't meet minimum requirements. We have to be better than that. We have to. This is something that's so important to the kids. They love it. They learn so much and do so much they can't sitting in a classroom. Steve, you went out there this year. Mayor Lee, you went out there this year, excuse me. You saw how amazing it is. And I just wanted to kind of come from a parent perspective. I have no political agenda. I have no reason to be up here other than, and my daughter has already gone. So she won't be doing it next year. We're done. This is my only child. That's how important I think the program is. And I hate to see red tape or feet in the sand be the cause for us not going forward. So I appreciate you guys saying you're going to do a sit down, and look forward to seeing what comes from it. But let's not let red tape do something that keeps Elk Grove Unified at a minimum. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Lynn, go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I just have a question for staff, or maybe somebody can answer. The program does sound very compelling. Has the school districts picked this up at all, or are they interested, or is this purely a city MPDES requirement and it's only contracted through cities?
I'm not sure if Ms. Butler has approached the school district. I know she approached us, and we looked at it in that.
Would you like to answer?
Go ahead, please.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so I think part of this is kind of just the history of the program because it was created by municipalities for municipalities. That was kind of the direction that the funding stream took. That being said, we have approached multiple school districts over time, and it was just so clear that that was not happening that we kind of gave up on that. Just as such a small organization, we really have to focus our efforts on the funding streams that are most likely to efficiently and effectively fund the program. And it was pretty clear to me that the school districts are not that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just a side note, I would just be curious where would the school district, what sort of categorical funding they would use for that purpose? Do you know?
Yeah, so this is actually, so one of the interesting things here is that it's not only jurisdictions that have stormwater permits, it's also large school districts. So because they have such extensive impervious surface associated with their campuses, they actually have requirements to do this as well, which was precisely the reason that we approached some of them in the first place. It's just, I mean, to tell you the truth, like this theme of red tape, I guess, is kind of where we're at right now. We hit pretty extensive red tape and feet in the sand. And so even though we kind of were making the same argument to them that we're making to you tonight, it didn't seem to be moving forward. That said, I am always interested in additional funding partners. So if anybody knows anyone.
Maybe that's something, Laura, you can talk with Chris Hoffman, and we can set that up with our 2x2s that
Yeah,
we
we
do
have
as
a
well.
2x2 coming up at the end of June.
Perfect.
So certainly we can add that to the agenda.
Yeah.
No, that would be very much appreciated. I think all that I would say is that, you know, there's meeting the letter of the law and there's meeting the spirit of the law. And when I look at your fellow jurisdictions in this area, you could say that they are going above and beyond because they not only contribute to the Sacramento Stormwater Quality Partnership, but they also fund extensive classroom presentations and this intensive program on their own. And I would really like to think that the city of Elk Grove prides itself as being a leader in environmental issues, and that they would like to join their compatriots in this.
Yes, thank you. Lynn, wait, please.
Good evening, Lynn Wheat, Citizen Planner. And I support the SPLASH program. And actually, as they were discussing it, I had a vision 12 years ago that I approached the previous councils about. At that particular time, Sandboard owned some property at Bond and Waterman that is known to have quality vernal pools on it. And the apartment complex that's sitting out there actually had to mitigate away some of those quality vernal pools. Sandboard still owns that property. When I envisioned it, I envisioned that we could work collaboratively with Sandboard, the school district, and the city in presenting something that would be viable for everyone in our community. So when I hear about the Splash program and I hear about McKee, McKee's not that far away from Bond and Waterman, that a lot could be saved in transportation, that the students would be able to participate from McKee, Kerr, Pleasant Grove, the middle schools, etc. So we have those opportunities, and as the young lady said, it is important for us to understand what our nature provides for us in clean water. So I'm up here to say that it is a wonderful program, and I hope that we as a city can get through some of that red tape to support it. And it's unfortunate that we couldn't create that atmosphere right within our city when we have all of those natural resources right here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waite. Next item.
Take us to section 6, our general administration information.
Mayor and council members, first, I'd like to go over a few events that are coming to the city. First, this Friday, the city will partner with Beers and Sack to host the second annual Elk Grove Brew Fest. It'll be held again this Friday evening, May 26th, from 6 to 10 at the Old Town Plaza. This event features more than 50 craft breweries, cideries, meaderies, and wineries, as well as gourmet food trucks and other vendors. The event is nearly sold out, but a few general admission tickets are available at elkgrovebrewfest.com. Secondly, the Consumnes CSD will be hosting a community outreach meeting for the future Sing and Car Park next Wednesday, May 31st at the Elizabeth Pinkerton Middle School Multipurpose Room, and that meeting starts at 6 p.m. The meeting will generate ideas for the design of the 5-acre park located in Laguna Ridge. Staff will develop a master plan for the park based on that feedback, and then the master plan will be shared at a second meeting in July. Those who can attend the meeting can provide their input online from June 1st to 15th at the CSD's website, www.yourcsd.com/future parks. Third event is the Wagon Walk. We will be hosting the second annual Wagon Walk, a fitness event for people and pets, on Saturday, June the 3rd at Elk Grove Regional Park. Check-in begins at 8:30 and the walk will begin at 9:30. Walkers and their four-legged friends will take the 1.4-mile stroll around Elk Grove Regional Park, where they will encounter pause stops along the way, including the VCA hydration station, Pet Club Bone Bar, and other interactive booths. Registration for the walk is $15 and includes a T-shirt and a special gift for each pet. A portion of the proceeds will benefit this city's animal shelter project. On June the 10th, the Elk Grove Police Department and the CSD Fire Department will co-host the second annual Regional Safety Day at Elk Grove Regional Park. Again, that's on Saturday, June the 10th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The free event will feature booths, vehicles, and demonstrations from both host agencies. The event is intended for the whole family to learn more about public safety in a fun and educational environment. Other agencies represented include the U.S. Coast Guard, the Sacramento Sheriff's Department, the Highway Patrol, the Elk Grove Unified School District Police, and others. And food trucks will also be at the event.
Laura, sorry, quick
Yes.
question. Is Cal OES, are they coming as well? There's a lot of...
I don't know, but we will make sure they're invited.
Okay, be great. There's a lot of Elk Grove folks that work for that agency, that's why.
Okay?
Thank you.
I will make sure that they are at least aware and that we can provide space for them if they can come. Next, we have a reminder that the city is accepting nominations for Key to the City honors, much like what you saw being honored to Leah Fassler tonight. Receiving a key is one of the city's highest honors. Individuals with significant accomplishments in professional amateur sports, the entertainment industry, military service, public service, humanitarian efforts, and residents reaching the age of 100 years are eligible. Nominations submitted from now through June 30th will be presented to the City Council in July for consideration. Recipients will be awarded a key during the 6th Annual Multicultural Festival on August the 26th, and our nomination forms are available online. Beginning with the new fiscal year, we'll begin to introduce the city's newly hired employees at quarterly council meetings. As directed at the last meeting, we'd like to take the opportunity to introduce a new administrative assistant to the City Council, Carolyn Hill. If you could stand up, please, Carolyn. Thank you. Carolyn comes to us from the City of Long Beach, where she served in clerical and administrative roles for 24 years and served as one of the deputy city clerks for the City of Long Beach. And we are extremely, we're not very happy, we're extremely happy to have her here, and we're so glad you're here. Thank you.
Laura?
Yes,
If
sir.
I could just make one comment, that, you know, for one of the reasons it was important for me to have you recognized, because you now represent all 5 of us of the council, so, and you'll be the first contact for a lot of people, so it's very, I think it's very nice for people to know a name, and those who are viewing that can see a picture of you, and really appreciate you coming on the team, and you've been, you know, the short time you've been here, you've already made a difference, and it's been a pleasure working with you, and look forward to the years to come.
Yeah, I have to echo that. Having just got back from a trip, you kept me very organized with your binder. Thank you very much.
Moving very quickly through the standing citywide initiatives update with the general plan update. We are scheduling a study session on Senate Bill 743, the vehicle miles traveled implementation, and we're scheduling that for June the 21st.
Thank you.
The other update is on the animal shelter on page 3. The schematic design was reviewed by the Planning Commission on May the 18th, and City Council will review the animal shelter project on June the 14th. That concludes my report for this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions?
No.
No questions. Let's jump to council report. Let's start off with Councilman Soon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since last we met, I am very honored to have been accepted into the American Leadership Forum, and so we began began the program, and it's a year-long program, so I look forward to learning a lot there. Attended the Amgen tour like many of us, and really want to give hats off to Kristen Nelson, Jody Moreno, and all the staff, Elk Grove PD, for putting on a fantastic event. I think it's unanimous that the city did a great job, and look forward to future opportunities to host that event. Also was I'll call it a sidekick as part of the My Sister's House Gala. It's a fundraiser for women who've experienced domestic violence, and it's something we did I think a couple of years ago. Councilman Detrick and I up here, but it was just a good opportunity for a great cause. Attended the SACOG meeting. At that meeting, we had some numbers here for Bike Month, and so I'm proud to say that as of the 18th of May, we had 292 registered cyclists who biked a total of 26,000 miles, 26,293 miles, and 1,900 trips. So it's a good showing for the city. Look forward to expanding the participation in that program in the future. We also talked about the future. We have a new CEO, James Corliss, and he's starting to get involved. He relocated back over here from the East Coast. And he's quite the visionary, getting us to the board to look at planning for the future. And autonomous vehicles came up, how we will plan our infrastructure and accommodate disruptive technologies like autonomous vehicles. The Uber and Lyft are just the beginning. Uber's looking, believe it or not, they're looking at flying cars, which I think some of you have seen recently. And so the technology is coming a lot faster than we can imagine. So how do we prepare for that? So as part of that, he's establishing civic labs throughout the region and asking for participation. And I hope that this council will support city staff to participate in these, so we can look at how we can better plan for the future. Attended the Elliott Ranch Elementary School Spring Fling. I just missed the mayor there. I think you had just left when I showed up. It was also a great event, fantastic community event. Dropped by Relay for Life, and also had the opportunity to be part of a SACOG delegation to Seattle for a transit conference, where we got to hear from communities throughout the nation about similar struggles in terms of growth, how they plan for growth, how they didn't plan for growth, and now are trying to catch up. Seattle being one of them, lamented that the last 30 or 40 years when they tried to install transit programs, they could not get it off the ground, and now they had to, they passed I think it was a $54 billion measure over 30 years to shore up their system, and so there's a lot of successes there, but also a lot of trials and tribulations from smaller communities than Elk Grove, like Aspen, Colorado, Mount Pleasant near Charlotte, South Carolina, New York, San Francisco, Portland, Oregon. I mean, all over the place. So it was really interesting to see all the similar stories about how communities grew and did or did not plan to accommodate traffic in those communities. Look forward to applying some of those lessons learned here. Also had the privilege of awarding the inaugural Art Advocate Award on behalf of the Art Advocacy Project to the Elk Grove Artists Incorporated, and it's great to see the gathering of a lot of the artists in our community, how the advocacy for art and the value of art is increasing in our community, and such as or illustrated by the Civic Center art project that will be coming before us soon. So excited to see where the city's going how the city's going in that direction. And then finally, Library Authority is tomorrow, and I look forward to attending Brewfest on Friday. So thank you for your patience.
Excellent. Councilman Hume.
Yeah, thank you. The day following the last council meeting, I attended the Sacramento Transportation Authority meeting. We received the forecast for sales tax revenue, as well as the projected allocations for the fiscal year 17-18 sales tax to the different jurisdictions. They've ticked up slightly, so that's a good thing, and we should be getting our prorated share. Then the following Tuesday, I attended the Elk Grove Chamber of Commerce mixer out at our old golf course, Emerald Lakes Golf Course. It was a great crowd, great turnout, and it was a windy evening, but still a very enjoyable event. Friday had a special closed session for the Connector Joint Powers Authority, where I can say that the staff has been authorized to enter into negotiations for the hiring of a new executive director, so that will be forthcoming. Monday had an RT meeting, nothing to report from that. And then this morning had a regional sand board meeting as a subcommittee for the non-rate, non-fee revenue. There's some income that the sand board gets that is not rate or fee related, and so therefore it can be used for different programs and projects that are water quality related. So we're trying to prioritize how the board should authorize spending that money. And then just on council comments, I just want to say to the chief, I received a lot of feedback about the flags that were on Elk Grove Boulevard and Elk Grove Florin Road, the thin blue line flags. Some of them were negative in nature, and that the American flag should be left alone as a red, white, and blue flag, and that's the only way it should be. Others were just confusing or a little bit unsettled because they didn't know what those flags were meant to represent. And then most people, though, just wanted to know what do they represent, and once I explained it, they were very supportive. However, I think that if we choose to do that program again, we take a little more time to do some educational outreach on the front end so that people know why they're going up, and or they get displayed concurrently with the American flag, because that was another comment people made, is that they didn't know if somebody had put them up without authorization, and or we go to a different flag altogether that shows our support for fallen officers without the potential offense, because I know we have some local veterans that kind of came up in arms about that. So if we choose to do it again in the future, which I fully support doing in some manner, I would like to see us do it a little bit better. And then lastly, at the last meeting, we had the big discussion about the diversity audit and the creation of a diversity committee. And the committee got created fairly quickly, and there's an issue with with Brown Act that only 2 members can be on that committee, but I would like the ability to be present, have my eyes opened as to whether or not the city is doing things as well as they could be. So I was wondering if one of you might be willing to let me take your place.
You know, that might work out, because I forgot, I'm actually going to be out of town on the 6th, so instead of having to reschedule everything, if you'd be willing, then I will relinquish.
That'd be great.
Okay, thank you for your interest.
Can we just do that?
Yeah, that's fine. It's an ad hoc committee. It's not subject to the Brown Act. There's only 2 of you, so that's fine. No problem.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Darren.
Okay, sure, thank you.
What if I don't support that? Just kidding.
Councilwoman Nguyen.
I will not repeat many of the meetings, and they gave such great details on the meeting. I will say, though, that Councilmember Soon and Councilmember Detrick did a great number last year at my sister's house on stage as they performed, so they were both invited to come back again this year. So he left out that he actually was on stage, Councilmember Soon, and did a really great number. And I think they're asking him to repeat it again and do it again next year. So
repeat.
Watch for that next year.
I can only lose a bet twice. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. There's my-
And I was going to comment on the diversity committee that was created last time. I did send out an email. We set a date for June 6th at 6 p.m. to ensure that folks that are working are able to get from work and travel to get to a location. We haven't determined a location yet, just because we wanted to see what the attendance was going to look like. And I have to say that we've gotten some great interest in it from folks that were not at the meeting who wants to be a part of this as well, too. So I will continue to send out those emails, and we'll include Councilmember Hume on my emails as well and keep him updated. So welcome aboard.
Excellent. Vice Mayor.
Well, I've been out of town a fair amount. Was it the USC graduation that Will Ferrell, which maybe many of you saw in the news, he was the commencement speaker for approximately 60,000 people were there in the grounds with big screen TVs set up all over. I was there for our youngest son. Nick just graduated with his doctorate in physical therapy, so we had a doctor in the house, and there was actually a lot of fun that was done with Will Ferrell, taking the serious side and the comedy side, because they gave him his honorary doctorate. So he talked about next time he's on a plane and somebody says, "Is there a doctor?" and he stands up, he just hopes it's not United, so he gets dragged off. And then the other thing is I got back in time from that trip to be able to do a key to the city presentation for Ann Pinto. It was her 100th birthday, actually on that day, and it was also Mother's Day. So it was, pretty heartwarming, and also Ann was at the same assisted living where my father was at before he passed, and so I got to know Ann over the last 12 years, and then her daughter's very active in the community, Jean Sadler. So it's just amazing. You go to an event like that, and how touched everybody is that the city cares about the residents, and then it was just a bonus to have it be her birthday and Mother's Day as well. So that's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Only things I'd like to add is was part of a Greater Economic Council board retreat. Was very productive and meaningful. I had an opportunity to hear from a number of industry heroes that were able to make things happen in places like Houston and Denver. Found it very beneficial to come to the table with a number of key leaders in this region that's talking the same language in terms of bringing jobs to this region. The other thing I wanted to add is over at the Relay for Life, the city of Elk Grove was presented a plaque for our platinum sponsorship, and so I do have that in my possession, and I'll forward it to the city manager to add it to our trophy collection. The other event that I was involved in is the Retailers Conference, and I didn't fully appreciate how large it was until I showed up, and I realized there were 33,000 participants Not only that, but the convention center was so enormous, and I certainly got my steps in, and was down there with the economic development team, Rachel and Daryl. The one highlight that I was real glad I went is that I had an opportunity to sit down with the retailer strategies, and so those are the folks that we've just brought on board, and they shared some really good ideas, and I think that's really beneficial for the city and for the council to have an independent party that's going to come in and provide us the tools so that we can make good, sound decisions. And that is all for my presentation. All right, next item.
Take us to section 8, our consent calendar items.
Okay, and I see that there's a speaker signed up, so I want to open for a public comment opportunity, and I want to invite Pamela Skellinger. Pamela, come on up, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm a first-timer here, so excuse me for my ineptness. I'm Pamela Skellinger. I'm here on behalf of Anton Residential. I'm here to support item 817, which is the transfer of ownership from Anton Residential to Avanath. Avanath is a proven and reputable management company that we've successfully transitioned several properties with. There's transition of Geneva Point Apartments. They intend to also increase the improvements of $500,000 on the property. And approving this measure would reintroduce $2 million back into the housing funds for the city of Elk Grove. And the transition of this property poses no risk to the city, only the reward of the additional $2 million in addition to housing funds. So that's really all I had to say. So if you guys have any questions about the deal or the transition, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're here. Please don't make it the last.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Seeing that there are no additional speakers signed up, I want to close public comment, and I want to open for council deliberation and direction.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention? Next item.
Take us to section 9, our public hearings. Starting with item 9.1, which is a public hearing to consider determination of public convenience or necessity for a type 21 off-sale general alcohol license of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for Costco store.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Robbie Thacker in the Planning Department. So for the Costco PCN project, the applicant is requesting a continuance as noted on your green sheet that you should have received. So given that they had a schedule conflict, so if you'd like to continue the item, you can for a later meeting in June, or you can hear the item. So leave it up to you what you'd like to do tonight.
I'm willing to move the item to the June 12th meeting, but do we need to open the public hearing at this meeting?
If all you're going to do is continue it, you don't need to do that.
Okay, then I move to continue it to June 12th.
All right, let's continue.
Just to jump in, the request, I believe, was for June 28th.
Then that's the one I
Second
move to
Gotcha.
reschedule it to.
Second it.
All right. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item.
That'll take us to item 9.2, which is a public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution approving the mitigated negative declaration, mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the Old Town Elk Grove Streetscape Project Phase 2 and approving the project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Kevin Busey, Senior Civil Engineer with Public Works. I'm here to present the Old Town Area Streetscape Phase 2 project. The purpose of this hearing is to approve the project, approve the initial study and mitigated negative declaration with the errata, and then to also approve the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan or program. A little bit of background. So this is the project location. It is Elk Grove Boulevard between School Street and Waterman Road. Essentially, it's a Phase 2 of the Elk Grove Streetscape project. The Phase 1 is to the west of this project area. Just to give you an idea of the amount of community outreach that has occurred in developing this Phase 2 project, just wanted to list that for you guys to see. And then we're going to move over into the proposed project. Here's the proposed project. If any of you are familiar with the Phase 1 project, you'll notice that it's slightly different, being that the landscape median is not included in this section. That's the primary difference between the two projects. There was a lot of outreach, and there was concern about that median and access, and especially if you had emergency vehicles that needed to get through. So this is it. The other nice thing about that we got out of the community outreach process is the bike lanes. Has a little bit more connectivity for bicyclists, and the other big element of this project is the utility undergrounding. So that is generally the proposed project. For the ISM&D, essentially we're mitigating for biological, cultural, and hazardous materials as well as noise. Here's just a kind of a snapshot of those mitigation measures. These are kind of like the typical mitigation measures that we would have on, pretty much all of our projects. So we just want to talk a little bit about the comments. We did get some comments. We issued a notice of intent in late December and again in late January, and then we closed the comment period in late February. We had received 6 letters. 2 of the letters were from agencies. It was Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board and SMUD, and they were like essentially form letters asking for us to comply with regulatory requirements, and of course we will do that. And then we got 4 from the public, which I'd like to talk to a little bit here. So, I got a kind of simplistic figure here, but essentially the project area on Elk Grove Boulevard is shown. And the concern we had was we were proposing initially a signal at Kent Street and Elk Grove Boulevard. The primary reason for that signal was to just allow for pedestrian crossings. And the concern was if we had a signalized intersection there, it would have the potential to create additional congestion on Elk Grove Boulevard itself. And so we had 3 letters with people concerned that people would cut through on Rancho Drive and School Street. And we had another letter on Grove Street, and I've kind of highlighted those areas, and those are the concerns. So what we did is we went back and looked at it, and we recognized that a signal at this time is not warranted, and we were comfortable changing it to what's called a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. As you can see, if a pedestrian will come up, push the button, the flasher will come on, and they can feel better about crossing at least. And you're not actually you're not using a signal would actually control the vehicle, so this is a little bit better for them. So that's about it on the changes that we made. And the project funding, here's an overview. It's a $6.3 million project. We've got, right now we have $850,000 in federal grants. That's for P&AD, project approval environmental document, as well as the final design and the right-of-way phases. We were successful on 2 grant rounds through SACOG for those funds. And then we also have local funds that are programmed. What we were going to be pursuing here in spring of 2018 is funding for the construction. We're looking for a $4.1 million construction grant. And since we've gotten the previous grants from the same program, we're very hopeful that SACOG will award that grant as well. So the next steps is once we get through environmental clearance through CEQA, we would go through the federal environmental clearance process, which should be fairly short, within a month, and then we will begin the right-of-way process, and then construction is to be determined because it's really tied to that grant. We would be hoping for potentially a late fall 2018 or spring 2019 construction should all the funding come in how we want it to. We're showing about a 1-year construction. And I'm going to leave it on the recommendations. If there's any questions, please let me know.
Questions? Go ahead.
So when you're looking at Elk Grove Boulevard in the Old Town area, there's other locations that I think in the heart of the Old Town that have pedestrian issues, especially when people come in. There's some where you got planters where they're walking out in between planters, and especially when you have both the early morning sun and late evening sun, as well as just the darkness in that area. One by the brick house. I see Angie's in the audience. I know she could probably verify. She lives down there and spends a lot of time in those areas. That I think we need to look at some additional safety items, maybe like you showed with the other buttons that you can push to for lighting.
Right. Well, I can say to that that kind of portal design where you kind of walk through is something that we're not using as part of this project. I believe that we've gotten some previous comments on this that Public Works is looking into independently.
Just to let you know, we have received requests, and so we are going to upgrade the signage. We've gone through, we've let the Old Town Foundation know. They've seen what we want to do. It's acceptable to them. And so we're going to go out and try some upgraded signage to see if that helps. And if it doesn't seem to get us to where we want to go, we'll continue to look at other
Does it have any
options.
kind of flashing at all, or is it strictly?
I don't recall that it does, but I certainly can get back to you with that answer.
Because you know, the feedback I've gotten several times when I've been down in that area, that it needs to be something that's alerting people other than just a sign. Because, again, the lighting's, you know, not really bright down there, and you have the issue of people, both the sun in both directions.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councilman Sim.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on that, who, and by the way, thank you, Kevin, for the presentation. Who are you guys reaching out to in terms of, I guess, experts in their field, pedestrian groups, or, because I know City of Sacramento, I think, does that kind of thing with all their pedestrians, and I don't know if you guys.
We've been working with the Disability Advisory Committee here.
Good.
You know, so that project's gone through once already, and then we're going to go back through again here at the 65% prior to kind of finalizing everything. So we've been utilizing our own, you know, committee, and then I don't know if we're specifically reaching out to anybody such as like Walk Sacramento.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because I mean, we don't have a lot of these types of scenarios, right? So when we do, it's probably prudent to reach out for folks that deal with it all the time. They might give us ideas we never thought of.
Yeah, I mean, don't see any issue with that. I think that would be a great thing, so.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? No? No questions? At this point, we want to declare the public hearing open and want to open for a public comment. I see that we have one speaker signed up to speak. Brian Coulson.
Come on down, nephew.
I've been in Old Town for quite some time, and yes, I have dealt with all the handicap in my neighborhood and in my area and up and down Elk Grove Boulevard for the last 6 months. So I've done my research.
Okay.
We are happy with the Kent Street crossing. The planter boxes, I don't know about. I know about the underground as far as the utilities are concerned. I don't know what you're gonna do with the planter boxes, a sidewalk, a bike lane, 2 lanes of traffic, and a left turn lane both directions. It's gonna be pretty tight, but it'll probably work. Hopefully it'll be nice. You get down to where Porta Rosa is, now they're saying they want to put a crosswalk in with lights, everything there, and have some kind of billboard sign or some kind of something they want to put up in there. I talked to Gary 3 times, Grunwald? I talked to him 3 times and asked for the plans 3 times, never seen the plans 3 times. Every time I talked to him, he had the plans in his hands, out up there on Elk Grove Boulevard. Now, I know I was supposed to meet with, I guess, somebody, Kevin. Yeah, the Kevin guy who was just here, senior guy, but that never happened. He never showed up. I've been there all my life. I've seen the changes in Elk Grove. My family was in big business in Elk Grove for lots of years. And we loved how Elk Grove is really came along. As far as Elk Grove Boulevard is concerned, the parade used to go in front of my house. There's a lot of problems with what we have as far as the middle of town, the crossings that we have, the railroad crossings, everything's all tight. The police department don't want us to have any parades down there. I mean, we need to do something in order to build our town back the way that it used to be, to where we could have everything in the center of our town like we're trying to do in the first place. I mean, obviously you bought a section of property to have your, little things in and try to keep everything in that area, and it's not working. Everything's getting driven out. I went to the parade, there was 62 entries. My days, there was 300 and something entries. You know, everything is kind of just drop through our whole situation. As far as Porter Rosa is concerned, that would be three crossings, one at Waterman Road, one at Porter Rosa, one at Kent Street, and one at School Street. So that's a total of 4 within a, what, mile maybe? Okay. As far as them doing the crossing or some kind of billboard or whatever they want to do, I think the city should get the school involved and have maybe the kids design something and, you know, make it nice. Because that is where, you know, we stay. We've been there 50 years. I have. I'll probably stay there the rest of my life. So I don't know what the plan is there. Are they going to have a crosswalk there, or are they not?
Kevin Guy, Senior, meet Brian Colson.
So I could speak to some of Brian's questions. Essentially, the crossings he was talking about are going to be the same type of crossing, so it's not an actual signal, it's just a flashing beacon. And then, in particular, related to the sign structure, essentially the grant that we have does not really fund those types of structures. So what we've done is we've included it in the environmental document itself, so that it's cleared from a CEQA standpoint. And so, should additional funding become available, or should anyone want to pursue that, it's at least CEQA cleared. But right now, the project would not construct that sign as part of it. It's just,
Okay. Well, I don't know exactly how far the road is gonna be widening in that area, but if you pull up at Porter Rosa, you have a telephone pole, trees, somewhat of a sidewalk about this big. But if you pull your car up right to where the white line is and you stop, you can't see nothing of either direction. You have the fence for the spa place right next to you on this side. I don't know what your plan is in that whole corner, that whole section down through there, all the way down to the apartments, where basically, after talking to all the handicap people and everybody, it has to run both directions on both sides. You know, and it's not. So, I don't know if you're gonna take that guy's portion of his land, or?
no. Are you talking about the spas are?
Yeah, right where the Porter Rosa is and the sidewalk?
No, the plan, that's not the plan currently. We're just essentially going to, they have an existing sidewalk, going to be conforming to that. I have heard concerns about specifically at that intersection, the sight distance, because of that fence in the green. They have basically, it's a privacy fence almost, which was put up because of some concerns about some spas.
Will go away.
Yeah, it'll be underground, yeah.
All right, I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Seeing that there are no additional speakers signed up to speak, I want to close public comment and will declare the public hearing closed.
Just wanted to make one comment to Brian. Brian,
ahead.
relative to the parades not going over the railroad tracks, I think it was on the East Coast, there was a parade that went over railroad tracks, and I believe it was some veterans that were killed that were on one of the either floats or one of the cars, and that's why a decision was made from a public safety standpoint. You know, those trains don't stop, you know that, and there's plus or minus 20 plus a day, so that's why that decision was made.
Well, I was sitting at the front of the line, okay, at the railroad tracks, headed west. The last day that the person got run over by the train. And I've been sitting there and seen it happen many a times, but I was sitting in the very front. The train stopped, you know, it blocks half the road. People went around, got hit from the oncoming train from the opposite direction. That was it. City council said, well, we're gonna build this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna, you know, close this off so people can't go around each other to get through there. And then I came down to it that I had been told many times from city officials that that wasn't the reason why they did that. the reason why they did it was to slow the traffic down in the middle of town. You know, didn't seem right to me. But as far as the parade is concerned, you know, that was Elk Grove. And I don't understand why they have a problem with putting a cop or two out there or doing whatever they gotta do to have the parade run through town. It's been ran through town. I don't think any floats have ever been run over in, what, 50 years? You know, I mean, we went from a 300 and something partition parade to the year before was 59. This year was 62. I mean, why get up in the morning to go out and ride all the way down the street to watch 50 people go by? I mean, it's not even a parade. And all it was a couple cars in Ben Alley, you know, and that's it. We've lost it. I mean, Elk Grove's lost a lot of things that we've done to build it as you know, a friendly, homeful, you know, everybody get together and, you know, there's no Western festival. I mean, what is it, a bunch of people that go out there and try to sell their products? I mean, we used to have kids riding on sheeps and goats and horseback riding and the stalls all out there and, you know, trailers everywhere. And I mean, it's just gone nowhere.
Thank you, Brian. We have to
Thank
move
you.
on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Council deliberation and direction, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to adopt the MMD and the MMRP for Old Town Streetscape.
I'll second it, but I would just like to just emphasize my request that let's reach out to Walk Sacramento or, you know, other advocate walking groups, and let's get their opinion. And maybe if we could, Mr. Colson said we didn't make a meeting with them, maybe we could make sure that happens. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank
Got a
you.
motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstention. Next item.
Take us to section 10, our regular agenda action items and recommendations, starting with item 10.1, which is presentation of the proposed fiscal year 2017 annual budget.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick interruption. Earlier, we talked about the Run for Hungry, and I just want to recognize Regina Scott's in the audience. She is the one that was credited with organizing all the Del Webb folks. So, Regina, it's good to see you out here. Thank you for all your work.
I think she deserves a hand.
Thank you.
Mayor and council members, it's my honor and pleasure tonight to present to you the manager's budget message that accompanies the fiscal year 2017-18 proposed budget. Tonight, I will give you an overview of the proposed fiscal year 2017-18 budget through three sections. One, the headlines that help to build the budget proposal, a overview of our plan of service for next year, and then a very quick run through the numbers. So one of the most important items that happened this spring was the passage of SB 1 and the subsequent signing of SB 1 by Governor Brown. SB 1 is the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. This impacts the city positively in two ways. One, it does provide increased funding for road maintenance, which helps to decrease the urgency of general fund augmentation in the short term. For street maintenance, we are assuming that we will receive $1 million of SB 1 funding in fiscal year 18, which will then increase to $3 million by fiscal year 19, and then in future fiscal years, an average of $3.5 million a year. Also, we will receive more money for transit. It's estimated that we would receive up to $1 million in new funding through SB 1 dollars for transit operations. That funding is not included in this year's upcoming budget, but we expect to see in future years about $1 million a year for this. This bill does come at a cost to taxpayers. Taxpayers will see increases in gas taxes and other fees. The gas tax in and of itself hasn't been raised since 1981, and so there's quite a bit of catch-up to be had. But has been seen as landmark legislation for the state to catch up and keep up on its street maintenance responsibilities. Another headline is an action that the City Council took earlier this spring, which was the award of a new franchise agreement to Republic for the solid waste franchise. And as a part of this action, it did free up over $1 million on an annual basis in franchise fees that can be returned to the general fund. This budget assumes that that transfer of the franchise fees will occur roughly in September this year. So for fiscal year 18, the general fund would recognize $825,000. For fiscal 19, the general fund would receive the full $1.1 million allocation in franchise fees. For the next 2 fiscal years, we propose that those dollars be allocated to the community center that will be built at the Civic Center to help fund in its construction. We also propose this because the community center does provide a citywide benefit that will provide benefit for those beyond the folks that live in the Laguna Ridge community. That will help to, that will pay the lion's share of that facility through the Melrose fees. Another headline in this budget proposal is the construction and operation of the future animal shelter. The current contract with Sacramento County for animal sheltering services ends on June 30th, and it should read 2019, not 18, it's 2019. So we do have some time to be able to provide sheltering services on our own and to not depend on others, whether it's the county or a nonprofit organization, to provide animal sheltering services. The budget for fiscal year 18 and the general fund projections for the future assumes a debt issuance for animal shelter construction. However, at the same time, there is a decrease in the amount of revenue neutrality payments that we will be making to Sacramento County, which creates the capacity for the city to take on the cost of the debt service for the animal shelter and the increased cost of operations. For animal shelter operations, we're assuming a net increase of costs of $1.7 million over the county contract by the time that we're fully operational in fiscal year 2020. It does provide space for over 20 dogs, over 20 cats, and a public spay-neuter clinic. The debt service will start in full by 2019. Another headline is the investment and economic development activities that are embedded in this budget proposal. First, we do anticipate an appropriation of $600,000 out of general fund balance in the upcoming fiscal year for the purchase of property in Old Town. This is at 9676 Railroad Street, the old Durham Machinery Building, just south of the Old Town Plaza. This property provides us with the potential for commercial or an entertainment venue, working with a private partner, and this would complement the plaza site that we currently own north of that parcel. The development of lifestyle amenities along Elk Grove Boulevard corridor. This would be taking advantage of new retail planned along the Elk Grove Boulevard corridor west of Highway 99. We have 2 sets of appropriations for economic development incentive funds. One is $200,000 appropriated to the Economic Development Incentive Fund. This is a continuation of a fund that we have been building over the years, so that if we do need to provide a significant incentive for a job creation opportunity, then those funds will be made available. A new fund that is created, that we propose to create with this budget, is the Small Business Incentive Fund, and we would start that with $125,000 of funds set aside for that purpose. Also, to let you know about how we have treated the upcoming sales tax sharing agreement with Costco. You'll recall that the City Council approved the Costco sales tax sharing agreement at your April 12th meeting. It is a 50-50 split of sales tax revenues except for fuel sales. At this point, we are assuming the opening of Costco in April of 2018, and because of the way that we receive the revenues back, the sales tax revenues back from the state of California, we assume that we will not receive any sales tax revenue from Costco in the upcoming fiscal year because of the time lag between the time that the money is, the sales tax is paid at Costco to the time that we actually receive it. Also embedded in the proposed budget is a change in the way that we would propose providing for affordable housing. We propose in this budget that we would set aside $2 million for land acquisition, for the city to acquire the land up front and then solicit developers for that property through a request for proposal process. We believe that moving to this type of activity would increase control over the locations of affordable housing projects, as well as encourage innovative and synergistic projects where affordable housing could be provided along with commercial development or along a light rail corridor. You'll also see that it also would continue the acquisition of rehabilitation of properties for permanent shared housing, as well as the continuation of home buyer assistance loans. Another headline in this budget is the continuation of addressing unfunded CalPERS liabilities through prepayment. Between the last fiscal year in 15-16 and the upcoming fiscal year of 2017-18, basically 3 fiscal years, we will have paid $3.3 million to PERS to mitigate future pension cost increases. Basically, by prepaying PERS for these unfunded liabilities, we're taking advantage of the PERS 7% rate of return versus the 1% that we're currently earning through the state's local agency investment fund. It's interesting to note that a couple of weeks ago, the state treasurer issued a press release that basically congratulated the state for doing the same thing by, quote, buying down our pension debt using compound interest. So it's a practice that is being seen as a sound one, and we're fortunate that we're able to take advantage of it. Your key numbers in the budget, our total budget is $375 million, including previously unspent budget authorization on long-term projects and rolling them into the proposed budget. For the general fund, this budget is a $67.8 million proposal, which is a $2.2 million increase or a 3.4% increase from the current fiscal year. The proposed budget assumes that we will have an $18.7 million general fund balance, which represents almost 28% of general fund appropriations, and you'll recall through policy that we do not want to fall below 20%. Now I'd like to walk you through the service plan very quickly for the next fiscal year, and we wrap these around the 5 goals that were adopted by the City Council in March. Those 5 goals form the basis for our service plan. So you'll see on the left-hand side what the council goal is for the next 2 fiscal years, and then on the right-hand side, I've provided some bullet points of initiatives. We've talked about 3 of the 4 initiatives for the first council goal, which is to foster a vibrant and diverse economy in Elk Grove. The one item that we haven't really touched on is the new growth area projects, and that includes the sewer lift station and the extension of Bilby Road and Bighorn Boulevard in the new growth area. This is partially funded with the $5 million general fund appropriation from fund balance that was approved in the current fiscal year. And just to remind you that that money will be repaid as new development comes online. The second council goal is to continue and foster and support the safest neighborhoods and to promote the unique attributes of Elk Grove. The initiatives that fit that service plan, the general plan update, we hope to have that completed by the spring of next year. We've talked about the animal shelter. One of the items that the chief is very excited about, just ask him, is the real-time information center, which will be funded through the general fund and the asset forfeiture funds. And he can touch about that later tonight in his presentation. With regard to homeless navigation, we have homeless navigator services that are now being provided through a contract with Sacramento Self-Help. And then with the Camera Road widening extension, we understand that this is the council's top priority project. We do have environmental work underway, and during the CIP presentation that follows my presentation, there'll be more detail about the Camera Road extension project. Distinguishing Elk Grove as a city with an array of opportunities for sports and cultural activities for residents of all ages. Those 3 initiatives that have been identified here with the Civic Center, the construction has begun on the Aquatic Center, and we hope to have that open this time next summer. The Community Center construction is anticipated to begin in spring of 2018 and complete in the spring of 2019. And with Old Town Plaza, phase 1 of that project is almost complete. Serving as wise and responsive stewards of fiscal, physical, and natural resources. Don't say fiscal and fiscal 3 times fast, it won't happen. With the continuing citizen engagement on quality of life, this is really the polling and the satisfaction surveys that we conduct on a periodic basis. This summer, we will be ramping up for our biannual citizen satisfaction survey that we run through ICMA, and we run that every 2 years to gauge customer satisfaction, make sure that that our citizens are happy with the services that we provide, and if we see dips, then we figure out what's going on with that particular service, and it's an opportunity to make sure that we're functioning at a high level. With regard to the computerized maintenance management system, this helps Public Works update infrastructure conditions citywide, and the current plan is to continue the implementation of that system. With the Transit Comprehensive Operation Analysis, the council adopted that report on April the 12th. That called for a 7.6% service reduction in basically tweaking the system, and calls for fare increases in January of 2018. Also to note is that because of the work that has been done with the Transit Comprehensive Operation Analysis, it allows the general fund contribution to start shifting away from covering the overhead costs, where basically the general fund is supporting the transit's overhead. With the changes that have been made in the comprehensive operational analysis, the general fund transfer can now start funding deficit reduction to the transit fund itself. And so that in and of itself is a very positive development. Continuing to elevate the city's high operational performance using innovation to achieve new levels of organizational excellence. Again, we will continue to improve our performance measurement and evaluation system. We're building our strength of interagency relationships and regional partnerships. I think Councilmember Soon demonstrates that, with the recent SACOG trip to Seattle and getting plugged in there. Also, we include in that service plan address issues raised in the workforce diversity report. 2 weeks ago, I presented a report that revealed that the city's workforce does not reflect the diversity of the community that we serve. And as you talked about earlier tonight, the City Council has formed an ad hoc committee to address this issue, and we've included $20,000 in the budget to address any issues that have been identified by the ad hoc committee going forward. So now it's time to do the numbers. And we'll first start with where the money comes from in the general fund. You'll see the revenue pie is a total increase of 2.6% over the current fiscal year. And that's it's adjusted because we had one-time revenue included in the 16 budget. What's also noteworthy about the 18 budget is that it does include new revenue, the $825,000 of integrated waste franchise fee revenue. Sales tax revenue continues to be the biggest piece of our general fund pie at 38%. It assumes an increase of 1.7%, and we assume that Costco will come online in 2019, and that projection is consistent with guidance that we received from our sales tax consultant. With regard to property tax, which is almost 19% of the general fund, we assume a 5% increase, and which is consistent with the assessor's office guidance that we receive. The same with intergovernmental revenue. The bulk of that is property tax in lieu of the vehicle license fee, and that tracks property tax growth. And other taxes, that is mainly the transit occupancy tax. The fiscal year 18 budget estimate assumes a 2% decrease from current levels. However, that is due to an accounting correction. If you took that out, our actual growth would be closer to 4%. We are finding that occupancy rates at hotels are improving quite nicely through the system, and while we are reflecting a decrease, it's not because of activity, it's an accounting change. Where the money goes, compensation, and that is the one word that means salary and benefits. That is the biggest piece of the general fund expenditure pie at 64%. This assumes increases that have been provided for in the Elk Grove Police Officers Association and the Elk Grove Police Management Association agreements. It also includes a 2.75 increase in compensation for our non-represented employees as well, and that would be for both the upcoming year in 2018 and is assumed for fiscal year 19 as well. With regard to expenditures by function, the police department represents 58% of the general fund expenditures, and frankly, this is very consistent with prior years. There really isn't much in the way of changes to note here for now, although revenue neutrality in future years will become a smaller and smaller piece of the pie. Here is a list of staff positions that have been included for approval in the proposed budget, the justifications of which you can find on pages 8 and 9 of the transmittal letter. Just sticking with the police department positions very quickly, you'll see that one senior analyst, IT analyst, and 1.5 officer positions are included for funding. But I also need to remind you that at mid-year, we added 3 additional FTE to the police department in mid-year, 2 officers and a dispatcher. So if you include that, that number goes from 2.5 to 5.5 since the adoption of the current year budget last June. The general fund projection assumes the addition of 2 sworn and 1 non-sworn position in the police department through the projection period, and that's consistent with the staffing study recommendations that were concluded last year. You'll see that the other 2 positions in the general fund include an economic development specialist and a public affairs media specialist. In the public works department, we propose to add 1 traffic engineer, 1 senior civil engineer, and then in the integrated waste division, an environmental specialist. Development services, we include 4 planning staff consistent with what the city council approved in moving from a contract model to a model that provides staffing in-house. And then with the Civic Center, we propose to add a Civic Center manager to start ramping up for aquatic center and community center functions in the Civic Center.
Laura, from
Yes.
which contract savings is the public affairs media specialist being funded?
From the information technology budget for, I don't remember which contract, but I know it's coming out of the IT division in
So likely
finance.
Interwest then?
It's not Interwest.
Okay.
I want to say it's Spinatar.
Okay, thank you.
Laura, I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Economic development. I've seen some of the other economic development departments in other cities. They seem to have a lot more staff than what we have.
That's correct.
I'm curious whether there even is room. I just want staff to have the tools necessary to be able to execute what we're asking them to do. I don't see Daryl here, but I don't know, I think your conversation with Daryl, is that something that he may need more of, or is 1 sufficient?
1 is sufficient for now, and that would, with the addition of the economic development specialist position, that would get him in parity with most of the economic development departments in the region. When we come back for the agenda item on June 14th, that we talk more in detail about the requests, I can have Daryl be prepared to go through that analysis. But if you look at a per capita basis, we are very slim compared to other cities in the region when it comes to economic development.
Yeah, I mean, I had an opportunity to spend some time with them, and they're very good with what they do, but I just wonder, there are certain things that will bog them down, reports to the council and to you, what have you. I just want to make sure that they, every department to have all the tools necessary, and that's something that I would be interested in exploring.
Okay. No, that'll be noted, and we'll be prepared to talk about that in 3 weeks. Very quickly on the general fund 5-year forecast. A very quick review of that forecast indicates that revenues will sustain operations through fiscal year 20. And then if you look at fiscal years 20 and 21, we do have a structural deficit starting in 21 of $371,000 in 21 and $1.5 million in fiscal 22. If the council chose to appropriate money from fund balance to cover it and not do anything, we would still be above our fund balance target of 20%. However, I would always tell you that the more prudent action would be to monitor and control your spending so that you don't have a structural deficit problem. Fortunately, we have 3 years to address that, so that by the time we hit 21, we don't have a negative result in 21. One thing to also note is that through this period, we do have a reduction in revenue neutrality payments, which allows us to fund the animal shelter construction operations. Now, this budget, this 5-year forecast does not include any revenue from the mall. It hasn't since I've been here. the new growth area repayment that should help to pay the $5 million appropriation as seed money for infrastructure for the new growth area. Any growth that is outside of the normal, incremental growth that we typically receive from year to year. And we don't, it doesn't assume a recession in here. Again, we have fund balance to help us weather the storm in the short term, but we have to keep our eye on the 2021 fiscal year and get that red result to black. Just a reminder about the Laguna Ridge Community Facilities District debt. We do have multiple capital projects that are assuming the use of external financing through the CFD, including the new growth area and the Civic Center. And we'll talk more about the Civic Center and the new growth area infrastructure in the CIP presentation later. So this item tonight is a receive and file item. There is no action being requested of the City Council tonight. What happens now is that we have 3 weeks between now and the next council meeting for you and the public to review the budget, to meet with us, ask questions, and we'll be back here on the June 14th City Council meeting to answer questions, go through the budget in more detail, have a conversation about the economic development staffing, and then that'll be your first opportunity to adopt the budget for fiscal year 17-18. If we also have the opportunity to adopt at the June 28th meeting as well. We just have to have the budget adopted by June 30th. I also want to let the public know that the proposed budget is available under quick links on the city's homepage for those that would like to see the budget online. Lastly, I need to acknowledge some staff members. This budget was a little bit unusual this year in that our budget manager, Andrew Keys, the creep left us on March the 24th to go take a promotion as a deputy city manager position in Lodi. How dare him? But we had people that stepped up to the plate and put together the budget that you have before you, and I want to make sure that they're recognized. Shay Narayan is our interim budget manager. Nathan Bagwell is our interim senior budget analyst. Eric Pennington from Code Enforcement came up and was our interim budget analyst. And Brad Kane from Finance provided helpful guidance and wisdom when we sorely needed it, and I really appreciate it. So with that, that concludes my presentation, and I can take questions now, but the bulk of the questions will be ready to answer in 3 weeks' time.
Laura, I just want to echo what you just mentioned. I come pretty late to the office, and I often wonder who's still there, and these individuals continually impress me. Thank you for hustling. Appreciate that. Questions, comments? No?
I'll just echo the sentiment. It's great work, everybody. I look forward to hearing it for adoption in 3 weeks.
Laura, I do see, it looks like Brad's got a few more gray hairs since last time we saw him.
Yeah, I put him on him. Thank you so much.
All right. So I want to open to public comment, and I see that Lynn Wee has signed up to speak this week. Why don't you step on up?
Good evening. I do want to thank Ms. Gill and her staff for a marvelous job and a lot of effort in putting this budget together and coming in line with the policies that you've set. I do like the idea of using the money from that was saved from our waste contract to go into the community center, because as she suggested, it is going to be more people than just those residents that live within Laguna Ridge. So the rest of us ought to be putting forth some of our money towards that facility, especially with later on in the agenda when you're looking at raising some of those assessments that they currently pay. I do have some concerns about us getting into land acquisition, especially around economic development. So I pause with that one, and I'm just uncertain, and that's the direction that we want to take as a city, as well as purchasing land for affordable housing to give some direction to that. If we have some really clear guidelines with our general plan and in our general plan update, then truly people that are coming within our community are going to know what areas we as a city are looking at. And I think that they could give that direction. I think we do a good job with our loans, and I don't know that we want to be getting into land acquisition. So again, I applaud them. The other thing, one last thing, is I looked through the events coordinator's portion of the report, and I appreciate how much our local residents really do attend all of the wonderful events that are sponsored by our city and by our other nonprofits within the area. Sometimes when we're looking at being a destination and thinking that we need to focus so much on those that live outside our area, I think that we ought to appreciate how much those that live within our area contribute to these events and how many of us want to stay at home and have these resources, these cultural amenities and other things right within our community. Because in that report it says only, 24% were non-residents and the rest were residents. So maybe sometimes we're focusing on being a destination when we should look at what we have here. And one last thing, because I still have a couple seconds, I'm glad to see that more of our trails are going to be completed, our bike trails. And I just returned from Scottsdale, and I would really like within the newer areas if we somehow could have our trails go underneath the roads so that we don't have so many direct road crossings, especially when we've experienced more accidents. And I'm sorry that that's not going to happen within our Azusa Dairy project. I know that the Trails Committee really fought for that, and that didn't happen. But maybe as we move ahead with this general plan update and we look at these trails, we can consider that and get some more buy-in from the developers and really continue to create a quality community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wheat. Seeing that there are no additional speakers, want to close public comment. Want to open up for council deliberation and direction. Good. Any comments? Councilman Soon?
If no other council members have any comments, I would just say receive and file.
Okay. We're good. Next item.
Takes us to item 10.2, which is a presentation of the fiscal year 2017 through 2022 capital improvement program.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Bob Murdoch with Public Works. The item before you is a review of the city's 5-year capital improvement program. The presentation tonight will be provided both by myself and Rick Carter, the capital program manager. I'm going to start out, and Rick will finish the program or the presentation. The CIP represents a list of projects that will maintain and enhance the city's infrastructure. The CIP is both a budget and a plan. The first year as a budget is financially constrained, whereas years 2 through 5 are more of a plan and are not necessarily financially constrained. Every year, the CIP is updated based on the current priorities and funding that are available. To be in the CIP, the projects must be at least $250,000 and provide long-term assets. Just brief accomplishments for the current fiscal year. We completed 18 construction projects worth about $18 million in improvements, and we obtained a little over the $3 million in grants. Next year, we have a few very specific goals. We want to award 21 construction projects worth over $100 million in improvements and obtain $12 million in grants. Now, we have restructured the capital improvement budget slightly. I noted that to be in the program, the project had to be $250,000. Over the years, smaller, minor projects and studies have crept their way into the CIP. We've removed those. They are now going to be found in the operating budget. In addition, we've created a future project list as an appendix. A number of projects that could not be funded within the 5-year CIP also found their way into the budget. And what we've done is decided to pull those projects out, include them in the appendix as a list along with their cost so that we don't lose track of them. And every year we'll revisit that. It's there for the council and the public's review. And we can, through this process, talk about what whether those projects, future projects should be brought into the CIP or left where they are, or whether additional projects, long-term projects that aren't funded should be added to that list. In addition, this version of the CIP is much more financially constrained than past. Actually, of the 88 projects in the CIP, only 5 are not financially constrained, and they're priority projects. So this restructuring has streamlined the document. The number of projects have been reduced from 220 to 88. The amount of unfunded projects has dropped from 249 million to 52 million, and the size of the document's been reduced by 300 pages. And so with that, I'll turn that over to...
Bob, I had a question.
Yes.
I believe in last year, we had a discussion relative to the projects that have been completed since inception of the city. That was, I thought we were going to try to keep a list that would be included with this each year.
Okay, sorry for missing that. We certainly, this will be back before the council in 3 weeks with the operating budget. We will add that to the CIP.
Because I think it's important to, because the question always seems to come up. Well, what have you guys done over the last 17 years, right? So black and nothing's better than having it in black and white.
We certainly can add that as an appendix.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Carter to finish the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I'm Rick Carter, the Capital Program Manager. I'm going to highlight briefly the contents of the CIP and go over the status of some key projects. As Bob mentioned, there are now 88 projects in the 5-year plan. There are 70 projects that will be active next year. Since most of the projects go between 2 and 4 years, they will continue over the life, or at least part of the life of the 5-year plan. And as he noted, we've taken out about 24 minor projects that just show up in the operating budget. The CIP is funded from 25 funding sources. There is a section in the CIP that describes the restrictions on those funds and how those funds may be used. And it also lays out the planned obligations for the CIP over the 5 years for each of those funds. When we look at new programming over the 5 years, there's about $202 million of new programming. That's in addition to about $110 million we have in the current year that should roll into the next year. Of that, $150 million is basically an anticipated revenue. And as Bob noted, there's about $52 million in what I refer to as unsecured funding. Bob mentioned those 5 projects. They're shown here. I would just briefly kind of highlight those. The top 2 are in the SEPA area dealing with drainage through there. It's the Shed C channel improvements as well as right-of-way acquisitions. We are, I actually discussed these a little bit in more detail later. The third project that's not fully funded in the CIP is the Elk Grove Florin Road sidewalk infill. It's across from Elk Grove Park. We put a grant application in for that in the last cycle, and it was basically the next project to be funded. And so we've left it in the CIP. We're going to apply again in the upcoming round. We actually got word today from SACOG that with the passage of SB1, it may just get funded without us having to reapply, but we got to look into that a little more. The fourth project is the Old Town Streetscape, which Kevin presented earlier and mentioned that we are going for the last, hopefully the last SACOG grant application for that to get the construction funded. And the fifth project, I think as you're all aware, is Camera Road. It's not fully funded, and it is one of our top, it is I think the top priority in terms of the CIP, and we are going to put a lot of effort into closing that funding gap. One of the other notable changes in the CIP is changing to the timing of the Laguna Ridge Park funding. There is a projected decrease in the revenue forecast for those parks. With that change, Oasis Park construction stays on schedule for the coming fiscal year. Unfortunately, pretty much all the other parks end up delayed 2 to 3 years. That includes Sing and Car Park, was originally scheduled to go to construction late this upcoming year, and with the funding revenues, that's pushed out about 2 years, assuming that those forecasts hold as they are. I would note that for that project, the design of it is funded. We're moving forward with the design, and as Laura mentioned earlier, there's the first public outreach meeting for that next Wednesday. In terms of new projects in the CIP, there are 6 that are brand new, have not been in the CIP in prior years. They're listed here. These come as requests from the Disability Advisory Committee. The bus shelter is a request from Transit. The Laguna Ridge, the Laguna Boulevard bicycle improvements are a request from the Trails Committee. And then the bottom 2 are some work within City Hall to redo the reception desk, the clerk's office remodel, and the doors are both security issues within the city. The bottom 2 are funded in the following year. The 4 above that are kind of scattered throughout the 5-year plan. What's not included here, every year we do curb ramp project, pavement rehab, and drainage rehab. So those are added at the end of the 5th year. They're kind of not noted with this slide. Kind of move into just to highlight some of the priority projects. Down around in the SEPA area, sewer lift station, those bids open on June 1st. That's a week from tomorrow. The Bighorn extension and the Bilby Road extension, those designs are both complete. We are finalizing some right-of-way acquisition and permitting. As soon as that's sufficiently complete, those projects will go out to bid. I mentioned a little earlier the Shed C channel and the basins. So staff is working on the 35% design for the channel that will allow us to move forward with permitting on that channel. And we are pursuing right-of-way as it becomes available. In the past, we've acquired 3 parcels that are affected by the channel and the basins from homeowners that wanted to sell now instead of waiting for those projects to move forward. So we have funding available as that becomes an option. The last on this list is the Lots Parkway extension, and we are continuing right-of-way acquisition in support of the extension of that road. For Camera Road, the city is in the process of transferring the environmental lead for that with the connector JPA. While that's going on, our design firm is charging forward with the environmental document, and there should be a seamless transition with the city and the JPA as that occurs. Per prior city council direction, we've revised the CIP for the 2-lane first phase. It's in the CIP at a $55 million budget. We have 31 million programmed, and there's the 24 million that's unfunded that we're seeking to close that gap. Schedule for that project is environmental clearance in February of next year, starting the right-of-way acquisitions immediately after that, and we're looking to award construction in late 2019. In terms of the Civic Center, as you're all aware, we had the groundbreaking a couple weeks ago on the Aquatic Center, looking for completion of that by July of 2018. For the Community Center, Senior Center, Vets Hall, we're looking to have bids in February of 2018 and completion in April of 19. Pardon me.
We're awake now.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm not putting you to sleep.
Nope.
Laura had already mentioned the animal shelter went to Planning Commission on the 18th. It's coming back before the council on the 14th. Assuming that's approved, we're looking to have design complete in December of this year, bid it February of 18, and have it complete and open in May of 19 before the expiration of the contract with the county. And then my last slide is on pavement maintenance. As Laura mentioned, this has been much improved with the passage of Senate Bill 1, additional funding. Traditionally, what we have had is about a $12 million need annually to maintain the pavement in its current condition. What we've had historically is about $4 million in available funding. So with the passage of SB 1, We're expecting about $1 million next year, about $3 million the year after that. And the projections we were given is about $3.5 million a year average over the next 10 years. So what that's done is that's allowed us to kind of close the gap by quite a bit. We'll have about $7.5 million annually toward that $12 million need. That is a combination of capital program expenditures as well as O&M expenditures. If you look in the CIP, you won't see the $7.5 million because a large chunk of that is spent out of the O&M side with an aggressive program there for crack sealing and various repairs. The other item of note is that our pavement condition index has moved upward to about 72. That's a combination of two things. We did about $3 million of slurry seal work last year, which helped. But the other thing is we've done updated surveys that just resulted in a change in the existing PCI with the new survey. So the combination of those two has brought the pavement condition up to about 72, which is at the low end of very good. So we're very happy to be at that level. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions any of you have.
Questions, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, one question was relative to one of the projects that's supposed to be underway, what the timeline is on the crossing from Camden Passage over to Bond Road over the creek.
Jeff says
Supposed
5
to be
months.
completed in 5 months? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Councilman Sun?
Just Bob, we talked about this earlier, but the storm drain master plan, when do we think we'll start engaging on that?
Well, we do have a proposal from a consultant, West Yost, that we're reviewing at the moment. I anticipate getting them under contract in the next month. But updating the storm drain master plan, with the existing one is dated 2011, is going to be a long process. It's probably going to take 12 to 18 months because you have a number of stakeholders. Development community will be interested because it might revise standards. Obviously, the environmental community will be interested. There's also, folding in the 200-year flood protection, trying to upgrade the storm drain system so it can handle the added demands of climate change. And then also there's the council expressed an interest to try to find a way to use water as an aesthetic resource. So somehow we're going to have to figure out how to do that as well. So there's a number of things in there. So it's going to take a little while.
Yeah, mapping too, right?
Mapping, yes, absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you. And just a comment, I would commend, you, Bob, and Rick, and your whole team for reorganizing the report. I think it made it a lot easier to read by taking those things out. Also, I guess just stressing the importance of continuity and funding for these projects. They're big projects and take a long time. So I appreciate all your work in keeping on this and keep progressing things forward. I'm very pleased to hear about the PCI index being a little bit higher. And as you guys know, the American Society of Civil Engineers Infrastructure Conference is going on this week. And when you got a pavement rating index across the country of D, it makes me feel pretty good that ours is way above that. So thanks.
Any additional questions? Seeing there are none, thank you. At this point, I want to open it up to public comment. Seeing that there are no speakers signed up to speak, I want to close public comment and council deliberation and direction. Receive and file, is that good?
Receive and file,
All
thank
right.
you.
Next item.
Takes us to item 10.3, which is to receive information on event advertising sign pilot program management and provide direction to staff.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Jeff Werner from your Public Works Department. Item 10.3 is before you as staff is seeking direction regarding management of the event advertising sign pilot program, which consists of 2 large interchangeable panel billboard signs to advertise events. There are 2 options being considered for program management. Option 1 would be run by the city and the Public Affairs Department staff. Option 2 is the Chamber of Commerce, who has expressed interest in operating the EAS pilot program. Both have submitted management proposals and are included in the staff report. And the Chamber is here this evening to present their proposal and answer any questions, and staff is available to answer questions as well. With that, I'm going to call up Mr. John Broughton from the Chamber of Commerce to give his presentation.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to present our proposal. Before I get started on that, the Chamber does want to thank the city manager, for your continued consideration for support of the Elk Grove Chamber of Commerce as you guys review your proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year. So we want to thank you for your continued support there. So I'll make this brief. I really just wanted to provide you information that will outline what we would be proposing to maintain and operate as far as the signage program is concerned. Spell out a couple of areas where we think there is some benefit to the city that we do that. But also just, at least allow you to know that we've done our research. We know what's entailed in running this type of program. Whether you choose to outsource it or partner with the chamber now or in the future, at least you'll have the information. Make sure I push the red button here. On a real high-level overview of what the program may entail is really the management process is the bulk of what the chamber would be providing. And that would include a whole series, and I have on the next slide what the process would look like, but a whole series of choices for the consumer to engage with the chamber through a shopping process, an ordering process, a billing and payment process, and then a fulfillment process. And we feel that we have the ability to provide a very seamless and integrated process flow that gives the consumer choices on how they want to engage with us. As part of what we're proposing as well is really to benefit the city. We would anticipate taking over ownership of the asset through an easement process or a mechanism that the city would, how the city would see fit to do that. But we would then also be liable for the asset, and so we would be taking on liability insurance to cover ourselves as well as the asset, and then as well as the full maintenance costs and upkeep of the asset going forward. And then, of course, the management of the program. Some things to kind of consider is that we have the ability, because we, through our day-to-day business, we already have a lot of our automated processes in place today. We would just simply leverage a lot of what we already have entailed today with this program. Another big piece that we think is a benefit to the city is because we would be taking over ownership of the asset, we, as a nonprofit and private entity, we can also be conscious of and review of content and compliance with content through whatever standards our community felt was appropriate. There is some areas around freedom of speech that we feel would be mitigated by having a private entity such as the chamber be in ownership and control of the signage program. So there's some benefit there, we feel. We, of course, would be assuming all operating costs. The revenues would be simply to offset the cost to run the program. And we would also be doing a lot of marketing and demographic data gathering as part of what we were proposing. And through our board at the chamber, we will have ongoing board oversight of how we manage the program. And our staff at the chamber, our employees at the chamber, our long tenured employees would be a part of how we would manage that program. So this is just a brief slide on what we would felt like a process flow could look like. When I refer to multiple channels, I use the word channels to mean multiple avenues of either shopping or ordering, whether that's online, walking into the chamber office in person, via fax or via phone. All the different channels and options would be available and would be seamless across the board. The shopping process, the consumer would be able to see different signage examples. There would be customized signage opportunities for them as well. And there would be support for design and content of whatever type of signage they may want to have advertised. And then through the ordering process, we would, again, multiple channels all synced together. The consumer would be able to see the final design for approval. The chamber would have the opportunity to review content. And then the final order confirmation details would come through. Through the billing and paying portions, again, with the same spirit of channel choices, we already have today built in the mechanisms to verify payments through credit cards, or check processes. Those already exist for us today, so we would just simply leverage those. And then, of course, provide the consumer the various different receipt options they may choose. This would also then have an automated flow to our vendor for the fulfillment of the order. From the time of receipt, the vendor would have a maximum of 7 days. It's the details that we've gotten from our various different vendors are all within that time frame. And then the vendors would be responsible for the installation and removal. And then on the data collection side of things, we in the chamber, we would be collecting data on different demographics and sign usage, as well as looking at how successful was the signage program in getting an audience to the consumer's event. And we would probably look to our consumers to help us with that process a bit. And we've had several different ideas on how to do that. And then lastly, just some real brief overview of where the expenses lie and where the revenue intent comes from. It's the insurance, the maintenance, the signage itself, the upkeep, very little staff time, and then the initial systems to any tweaking that we need to do to our systems. Those would be the initial costs. The revenue, we have a data request out to Folsom, the City of Folsom and the Chamber of Commerce, who have an active signage program today. We're looking for a little bit more detail on the fee structure around what types of events, what's the duration of, the common duration of the signage advertising. Is it 2 weeks they'd like to see it up? Is it a month they'd like to see it up? We have done our own research around using just a 1 month duration program and looked at what it would cost, the initial costs that we would need to provide that service, and also how many spots were available. And it comes out to about $150 to $200 a month to have, to be able to advertise for an entire month. Of course, we believe there would be a need for more options than that, of course. Weekly options, probably 2-week options. We'll see what data we get back from the City of Folsom. And that is it for my brief presentation. Do you guys have any questions?
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you. Hey, John, good to see you. I was just curious if you could elaborate a bit on some of the ideas you had about retrieving data for usage statistics.
Sure, and part of that might be involved with the fee structure. So to maybe entice a consumer to provide us data on, asking their attendees, how'd you hear about us? How'd you hear about the event? That would be a proactive thing that our consumer would need to do. So to entice them, maybe we offer them a discount for doing that and building that into their program potentially. We would be able to draw data as to what types of consumers are using advertising boards like that. What is the typical duration that they're wanting to do that? What types of events are they advertising for? So all that data we could inherently collect ourselves, but any additional data beyond that would take a partnership with the consumer. And I mean, that's just probably really the tip of the data we could gather. I mean, depending upon what type of event we're talking about, there could be marketing data, whether it's a sporting event or a community event, or an event that generates revenue of some sort. There's different ways of soliciting marketing data through that. So those are just some initial ideas. We would obviously further develop that.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
So was your thought that the city would install the sign and then you would take it over from that point?
That's correct.
And it would be at no cost to you, and you would run the program at no cost to the city?
It would be no cost to the city. There is a cost to us through, we would carry the liability insurance. We would be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the signage in the property, the asset itself.
But you don't project any lease payment to the city for the use of the sign?
Not in our proposal.
Okay.
Okay, questions? No? I got a couple questions. First question probably is to Jeff and maybe Bob. I had an opportunity to speak with the Elk Grove Science Center, and he brought up some concerns. I'm not sure what the process, whether he actually, had an interest in doing the signs himself, but did he put in a bid for this?
So we haven't contracted with anyone directly to fabricate the signs. We're still trying to get the program established.
Okay, that makes sense.
It would come later. That would come later.
Yeah, and then so his comments probably to previous opportunities in which he's missed out. And so, I would like to highlight the importance of making sure that we look to local businesses as well. Second question I have is, would the chamber be involved in developing the policies on what somebody could put on these signs?
Yes, we would be, I think that would take a partnership with the city attorney probably, as well as the community, just understanding what is appropriate and what the community feels is appropriate. But yes, we would be, if we were going to manage the program, we would take the lead in pulling that together and creating a policy.
What would prevent somebody from paying for an advertisement on these signs saying that I hate short people, which I would really be hurt, but just curious.
I think that there is some obvious possible advertisements that I think the majority of the community could find not acceptable. I think we could probably sit here and think of 1,000 different types of scenarios. I think that the main thing is that we're not being discriminatory, but we're also being cognizant of what the community finds acceptable. And I don't have, obviously I don't have all the 1,000 different scenarios mapped out here, but I think there is probably a few that are probably really obvious that.
Mr. Mayor, if I could chime in a little bit.
Okay,
You're
yes.
asking what seems like a simple question. It's actually very complicated. We have a couple hundred years of Supreme Court precedents on what the First Amendment means and doesn't mean, but let me see if I can just sum it up in a couple of seconds here. What you want to do when you create sign programs like this, particularly when the city is involved, is try to come up with a set of objective criteria that is not going to be discriminatory or infringe on people's First Amendment rights or interests. One of the things you want to try to do is identify the subject matter of what the signs are going to have on it. Even when you identify the subject matter, you have to be careful as to how that subject matter might be interpreted as discriminatory against one group. Let me give you sort of a ridiculous example. If one of your criteria was only nonprofits could be on the sign, well, there's a lot of nonprofits that probably many people in this room would find objectionable, but they are in fact legal nonprofits. If you just had that criteria, it's going to be hard to tell those other groups, no, you can't have it. So frankly, it gets a little bit tricky. As an owner of the sign, as the city, we have perhaps some latitude because courts have viewed that as the city being the speaker. But even if we have a third-party contractor like the chamber managing our signs, I think the city is going to want to have some sort of operating guidelines, and they're not easy to write. We'll certainly work with, if the city wants to do it in-house, we'll work with staff. If the council decides that they want to go with the chamber, we'll work with the chamber and come up with some guidelines, but nothing's going to be perfect. There's no way that I'm going to be able to think of all the possibilities, and I'll but promise you that someone being creative could come up with something that a lot of people in this room find offensive that is probably protected by the First Amendment. So I can't give you a one-size-fits-all answer other than to say we would work with whoever council directs to try to come up with guidelines that meet the community standards, that satisfy what we're trying to do through the event advertising without running afoul of the First Amendment. And it's not just what a majority of the community thinks is appropriate, because if you think about it, First Amendment rights generally come up in the context of the minority point of view that need to be protected. Usually the unpopular, offensive majority point of view, a lot of times, that the courts have found there are protections for because of the importance of free expression in this country. So I know that's kind of a long-winded answer for what I said I was going to talk very shortly on, but we can come up with, we'll try to come up with some guidelines that will satisfy both the community concerns, council's concerns, private concerns, and comport with the First Amendment.
how does Folsom and Roseville manage their signs?
Well, I think the chamber does it in Folsom. You may know how Roseville does it. I think the chamber does it there as well. I think one of the benefits that both those communities had is they just haven't had an issue. And fortunately for those cities and probably Elk Grove, you might not have an issue. But there are certain instances throughout the country that come to mind where cities who never thought they would have an issue might have an issue. One of the famous cases that we learned about in law school is when the Nazis wanted to march down the streets of Skokie, Illinois, and the city of Skokie, Illinois tried to shut them down, and the Supreme Court said you can't do that. Now, I think most people would find that sort of exhibition offensive, but the Supreme Court found that to be, as unpopular as it may be, that's a protected form of speech. So I think the good news, if we look at it from the practicalities, I don't think we're going to have that sort of thing there. If we do, we'll have to deal with it, and we'll have to face how we decide what to do. One of these solutions that the courts have offered in these settings is if you run afoul of someone's First Amendment rights because you find the group offensive, one of your options is to shut down what they call the forum completely. You just stop having the sign program. Now, that doesn't really serve your interests, but that's one way to resolve the issue, because you say, well, if nobody can have signs on there, then it's not discriminatory against anyone. Obviously, that doesn't satisfy what you're trying to do. So hopefully we can come up with something that would kind of thread the needle of being satisfactory to the First Amendment concerns as well as meeting the community goals. But to answer your question about Folsom and Roseville, I think the answer is they just really haven't had those sorts of issues pop up, fortunately. And I think optimistically we'd probably be in the same place, but I can't ignore the First Amendment overlays to this.
John, is there any difference between if it was a city-run sign or a chamber-run sign?
So yes and no, and I know that sounded like a lawyer answer, but let me explain. If it's a city-run sign as what we call a state actor, a government actor, you're subject to the First Amendment when you impose restrictions. What we try to do is we say, well, you'll make what we call a limited forum for this, where you identify the subject matter, the types of speech that we're going to allow. This council chambers is what we call a limited public forum, where we're talking about city business. So you can talk about city business here, but you can't discriminate on viewpoint. If someone comes up and says, I like the council, that gets the same sort of protection as someone who coming up saying, I don't like the council, it's all city business. So we would try to limit it to subject matter, and that gives us some protections. But if you had a purely private actor with no city involvement at all, that gives you some protections from a First Amendment point of view. But the downside to that is the city generally like to have some say, particularly since you're contributing assets to this, as to what goes on the sign. So you can't really have it both ways. If you're going to be completely out of the picture, then you're not going to have any say on what goes on the sign. If you are going to be in the picture and you have a little bit of say on what goes on the signs, then you run some risk of First Amendment concerns and freedom of speech concerns.
Okay. And my last question for you, how do you handle the situation is that, the chamber has chamber members, and then there's a lot of members in the city that are, there's a lot of folks and businesses in the city that are not members. How would you address that?
Yeah, the availability to advertise on the sign would be open to any consumer that would want to do that. We would not be limiting whether, you wouldn't have to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce in order to do that. So we wouldn't have any restriction that way, at least in our initial proposal, that's the way we see it.
And there wouldn't be any priority given to members versus non-members?
I don't think that we could really do that. I think that would be probably some level of discrimination that way, but I think that there could be discounts offered to a chamber member as far as a fee structure, but not a, I really think it would be just based upon availability of space and first come, first served type of format there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
A lot
few
of
questions.
complex issues surrounding that.
So thank you for this flow chart, but program management is a lot different than just running a chamber. Does the chamber have experience in running this type of a program or a project? And is there staff already readily available? And then my next question is, what would be, I think along the lines of what Councilmember Detrick said, is that what would be the difference maybe in cost? I'm not sure if there's a cost for us to run this in-house as opposed to contracting it out to the city.
Yeah,
Or I'm sorry, to the
no,
to
not
the
a problem. Let me answer the first part there. We do not have experience running a signage program of this exact type. We do have experience daily, weekly, monthly, and running advertising programs through our newsletters, through our online on our websites. Also in support of our chamber members, we assist them with their marketing and advertising as well. So that is what we do as part of what we do as a profession. So we do have that level of experience. And as I mentioned in the proposal, we have the systems already established to do the creation of advertising, the ability to get it ordered, the ability to bill for it, and those types of things. All those mechanisms we have in place today, and we realize that that's a good leverage for us, that we already utilize these systems, and we could just simply adapt them to this. And then, I'm sorry, your second
I think
part?
maybe it was Valora.
Cost.
Is the option to either fully run it in-house, this is kind of what I'm hearing, is it's either we run it in-house here at the city, or we outsource it to the chamber.
Those are the two options that have been presented, but I think embedded in the city's proposal is we would have to go and secure contracts with providers, much like we do for our military banners, for our, other banner programs through the city. And, that we typically run those requests for proposals anyway, and we would probably run, the material for that program similar to what we do for the banner programs.
Yeah.
Tara, you can chime in whenever you want.
Yeah, I was going to say that the closest similar program that we run is our Economic Development and Military Banner Program. So we outsource to a third-party consultant that can manufacture those and take those up and down. And then some of the banners are ours and some are not ours, so we're used to dealing with other, organizations' banners.
So it sounds to me like you guys have a data that shows what resources and expense are involved with running a program like this, so that's good data to have. The reason I just included this brief little slide here was just so you all would know what we went and investigated from an expense perspective. We went out and we got bids from 4 different signage vendors and who do this type of thing, got a better understanding of what it costs to maintain, and so we did our due diligence on it, understanding the liability insurance perspective, and so I wanted to at least convey to you that we think that we have our bases covered, or might be something that will pop up, but we'll think that we're pretty well covered.
So if I understand correct, your proposal is no income to the city provides the sign, and then you guys handle all the income expense related to everything but the physical sign itself. Is that correct?
Steve, what do you mean by the physical sign?
The structure.
Yeah, the structure would be constructed initially by the city. In this particular proposal, the structure would be then turned over to the chamber.
But
and then we would take over all costs from there.
We would continue to own and maintain the cost of that, and then you would?
In our initial proposal here today, you would be granting us the asset, and I don't know if that's achieved through an easement process, but.
Vice Mayor,
but it doesn't have to be that way, but that's what we proposed.
We've budgeted the money to install the signs, to construct and install the signs with this year's budget. So we would be doing so. Those would come online early next year. And then the proposal before you is either to keep those signs as an in-house asset or grant those signs to the chamber for them to own and operate and maintain in perpetuity as their own asset.
Okay.
So that's what's being proposed here
That's
today.
what's being proposed. Laura, in the analysis that, or Kara, either one, in the analysis that was done internally, so what is with the projected revenue stream using the basically similar format that the chamber used with income and expenses, is it a net zero to us?
Well, we would seek to recover our time and materials, but we wouldn't, seek to go over that. So we didn't go out and get quotes or bids yet. We would just try to cover our costs for the sign manufacturing and installation.
And then the ongoing, lack of better words, placards that are made that would be installed and removed by someone on our team or a contract, either one?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So the goal would be that the income received from the folks renting time, so to speak, with their signs for their events would offset the cost of the contract.
Yes.
Are we gonna hear what the city's gonna do in this format as a program management flow, or is that
No, we were
part of
not
this
prepared tonight to
presentation?
give a similar presentation like the chamber. We would do this more like an in-house program. Would you like a presentation?
Well, I was just wondering if, so I heard the option tonight was for the chamber to run the program or for us to run the program. And then the chamber presented how they would run the program, and
Yeah, right
I
here.
think if we're just doing this, so it sounds like I was just trying to get a
I think that's why I asked the
comparison.
question, is the option to run it in-house or to outsource it, and what's the
Attached,
difference? I
there,
guess?
there's attachment two to your agenda item that provides what the proposal would be if it were, if the signage program were to be run in-house. And unfortunately, Kristen Nelson, who did this for us, is out sick today.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Would you like me to walk through that attachment too?
No, I mean, I saw this, but I also saw these slides here the chamber's doing, but John presented it, so I just thought we were gonna present ours. So,
Can you
that's
maybe,
fine.
talk about some of the differences, that the benefits behind running it in-house, or the benefits of having the chamber run it?
I think some of the in-house benefits, public affairs staff looks at this as another tool in our toolbox to help promote city events that are ours, that are the local nonprofits and other organizations in town. So to us, it's a tool that we can use to help communicate and do messaging. The locations, were selected by Public Works because of the high visibility on the roadways. So I think it's a test of if these two were to work, it could be interesting to install more in the future, depending on their effectiveness. But for us, it's a tool. I think that the chamber would do a fine job as well, and we'd probably have similar outcomes with both organizations doing it, but it would just be a resource that we don't have any longer if the chamber did it.
Let's assume 15 years down the line, these structures are falling apart. Who's going to be responsible to maintain them and repair?
Well, in the initial proposal that we're doing here today, what the chamber's proposing is that we would have that responsibility.
Okay.
'Cause we would have
I thought I
the-
heard that. I just need
Yeah.
clarification.
And what we didn't propose, and kind of where I think a lot of your questions are leaning towards, is the city owns the asset, but contracts out the program management. What we were proposing is that the city turns over the asset to us, we own it, and then we program manage it. But that other proposal is absolutely workable as well. I mean, I think it ties in a little bit more with the free speech item, but there's always the way to establish those policies. So we're open to all of those conversations. That was just the only proposal that I brought here today, was the ownership one. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's why I want to open for public comment, and seeing that there are no speakers signed up to speak. Why don't you come on up? Come on up.
Good evening. If the city turns that sign and that property over to the chambers, wouldn't that be considered a gift of public funds? A gift of public lands?
No, there's a public purpose in doing that because you would get event advertising.
Okay, thank you, John. Seeing that there are no additional speakers signed up to speak, want to close public comment, council deliberation and direction.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
So I really appreciate the chamber coming out and their proposal and wanting to take on the program. Personally, I would like to see the city take the first crack at this. I feel like if we run into a metaphorical wall, we can turn left or right or something. We can reevaluate and at that point in time. But I think the whole purpose of this, when we first talked about it, was a better way for us, the city, to get the word out to our community about events and other things going on in the city. And so I feel like I think we could do a pretty good job of it too. So those are my thoughts. Thanks.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Well, I appreciate the chamber coming out. You kind of heard my comment last time that, I think that our team does a pretty good job with, with Jody and Kristen, as well as Eric Kara, everybody else who's involved with it. And I think the same thing. I think that we should take a first crack at it. And I think it should be, it's going to be the city of Elk Grove's mirroring the other signs we have around town. So then it gets back to some of the other items we've had in the past where it gets confusing to people. Well, who's responsible for this? When they look identical, yet if we're going to say, well, we don't handle that, that's handled by the chamber, that's ours. I just as soon keep all the signs governed by us and managed by our community affairs team.
Okay. Councilwoman Nguyen.
I do appreciate the proposal, and I wonder if maybe there's an opportunity to do a joint venture where if both council members had said that maybe we take a first stab at it and see how it goes, and then maybe eventually hand it over to the chamber. I don't think we had talked about the city running programs, and it's not our job to necessarily run programs, and I think this falls in line with what the chamber has to do, and if Roseville and Folsom are doing a really good job at this, I'd like to see maybe a joint venture in a way in which we can pass the baton over to the chamber if it looks like it's going to work, and if the chamber sees that this is something they can handle as well too. For somebody that runs an organization that lives off of just running programs and services, I know how much work it is, and so we want to see you be successful and we want to be supportive of this, but I think we also want to maybe make sure that there's a safe handoff to it.
Okay, it sounds like I have a consensus to have the city take first stab at this. Is that what I'm hearing?
I have another question maybe for Jeff. Jeff, when do you anticipate those signs will actually be installed?
We're anticipating the signs would be installed sometime around spring, go out to bid in the winter, and then be constructed in the spring of next calendar year.
So it's almost going to be a year from now?
It would be 6 to 8 months, something in that time frame. We have a design now. The budget needs to come online. We would let that package. It could be sooner. I just don't want to make any promises and not
Yeah,
deliver.
under promise, over deliver. I like it.
That's right.
So I guess what I was trying to lead into, to go on with what you had mentioned, so possibly if we look 2 years from now, evaluate it and see if that's something at that point that we want to keep, or we want to look at partnering up with the chamber.
That's a good compromise. I would support the vice mayor's
Do
suggestion.
you want to come up here and say something so we go on the record?
I want to make it clear what the chamber's goal here is. It's really to program manage the signage program. We are not motivated to own the asset. There's no benefit for us to own an asset like that. We were looking at that as a proposal just from a speech and content perspective, but that is not a driver for us at all. So I wanted to make that clear for the record. And really it is just around, we want you to see us as a viable partner if you ever so chose to outsource the program management of this, that we would be an entity that you would consider. That's hence the proposal that we put together, just so you can kind of see the way we see it. So that was it. That's our only motivation behind any of this. Okay?
Well, thank you for that, and I think if we found there was whether it was a challenge for us or we chose not to do it, I absolutely think you would be our first choice.
Okay, good. And that's the goal here, so I just wanted to make that clear for the record.
Can I ask a really quick question? Was that an option that we were going to outsource this? Or is this just an idea that the chamber thought maybe they had the opportunity to do? It just seems like if we had them put a proposal together and then we're saying, oh, we're going to keep it in-house.
No, we knew we kind of already knew that the preference was to keep it in-house.
Okay.
It was an option that was proposed by the city. We sat amongst ourselves and at the board and we decided, yes, this is something that we feel we could support, hence the proposal. So we're not left in the lurch here, but we certainly would want to play if you guys did consider that. Okay?
We absolutely view you as a partner now, just so you know.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have enough? Yep. Okay. All right. Next item.
It's item 10.4, which consider adoption of a resolution levying the fiscal year 2017-18 special taxes or special assessments for 7 community facilities and special districts.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Kara Taylor Seaman. I am the Finance Analyst for the City of Elk Grove, and I am tasked with coordinating the Mello-Roos and Assessment District special taxes for the city. I'm here tonight to present the new rates for the upcoming fiscal year 2017-18 and request your review and adoption of them. Just some background. The City of Elk Grove administers several districts. Those provide funding and bonded infrastructure for improvements and maintenance throughout the city. The funding is planned so that it matches the service needs for each district, as well as taking into account long-term forecasting so that we do achieve gradual rate increases over time rather than any shock to the system. This slide shows the 7 districts that where rates are currently assessed. There are 5 community facilities districts, CFDs, and then 2 assessment districts. For the bonded districts, this is where the city takes on debt to provide for infrastructure. The goals is really to fund construction of new projects. Those include roadways, sewer, drainage, public improvements, most notably, and most currently notably, the Civic Center, the Aquatic Center, and SEPA. Those bonded districts are located, there's 3 of them, located in East Franklin, Poppy Ridge, and Laguna Ridge. As you note here, Poppy Ridge has an added component that provides for police services within that area. Also, and similarly, Laguna Ridge has an added component that provides for maintenance services within the Laguna Ridge area. The non-bonded districts provide services rather than infrastructure. The goals are really to fund just authorized services as needed throughout the city. And those districts, as I mentioned before, Poppy Ridge has police services, but there's also a police services CFD for the remainder of the city outside of Laguna, or outside of Poppy Ridge. Maintenance services, there's one within as a component of the Laguna Ridge CFD, and then we have a separate CFD that provides for maintenance services for the rest of the city. And then finally, we do have street maintenance, District Number 1, and street lighting maintenance, District Number 1. It's important to note for street maintenance district, there are 5 zones throughout the city. Each of those has their own rates and are determined geographically. Similarly, street lighting maintenance district has 2 zones and each has their own rate. So for annual increases, at the time of formation, documents are drafted that give us direction as to how and what kind of methodology we can use to increase rates over time. So it can either be a flat rate, it can be tied to a consumer price index, and we use the April index for the San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose area. Finally, it could be the construction cost index, and that's tied to the March index for San Francisco. This slide shows the rates that that Finance is proposing for the upcoming fiscal year. The first 2 lines there are facilities for East Franklin and Poppy Ridge. According to the formation documents, we cannot increase those rates, so they are stable and 0%, $0 from this year to next year.
Kara, I hate to interrupt you, but I got to check with the city attorney. I live in East Franklin. Do I need to recuse myself from this?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Police services in Poppy Ridge and throughout the city, that increase is 3.79%, and it's tied to the April CPI. On the far right column, I just showed the per home increase for single-family residents. Most of these districts also have a multifamily component as well as commercial. Facilities for Laguna Ridge, that's a flat 2% every year, and we are recommending that increase. Maintenance within Laguna Ridge and throughout the rest of the city is tied to the April CPI at 3.79%. For the street maintenance district, the 5 zones, it's 0.45% is the March construction cost index increase. For zone 1, it's a very small nominal, 84 cents per single family unit. For street light maintenance, zone 1 is a flat rate of 0%, so there's no increase. And then zone 2 is also tied to the March construction cost index of 0.45%. In conclusion, we are requesting the annual increase in rates in order to meet the city's ongoing goals, and that is to provide service levels at the current rates. We also want to provide a revenue stream for current projects and enough in reserves to fund future projects. And then finally, we want to have a stable assessment level so that we are increasing rates gradually rather than, big increases each year. So the Finance Department requests that you consider and approve the resolution to levy special tax and assessment districts for next year, fiscal year 17 and 18.
Okay, any questions?
And I've got any questions.
All right. I'm going to open for public comment opportunity. Seeing there are no speakers signed up to speak, I'm going to close public comment. And we'll entertain any sort of deliberation, direction, or a motion.
Well, these are necessary assessments to maintain our service levels. So nobody likes paying more, but I think it's what we need to do to, again, maintain our service levels going forward. So I'll make a motion to move the item.
It's also programmed into the, it's not like something that isn't already recorded on their documents.
Yeah.
So, I hate to increase it, but it's something they agreed to when they bought into those districts, bought their homes in those districts. I'll second it.
Got a motion second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Next item.
We'll take us to item 10.5, which is the law enforcement camera update.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Brian Noble, your police chief, here with this final item of the night. I'll keep my comments brief.
Thank you.
We were at, you're quite welcome. It's my pleasure. Back at your February 8th meeting, Councilmember Hume advanced a request, and it was met with concurrence from the rest of you all to bring back an item to report out on our use of video technology currently, and then with some consideration of what we might be looking to do in the future. So along that line, we have a very brief presentation tonight. It's actually going to be presented, and I'm going to introduce you to our information technology manager, Chris Hill. You may not know him as. Chris, to come on up. Chris is actually going to present the information here because he's the brains behind these things. But then at the end of Chris's presentation, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Also entertain any suggestions or direction that you might have. So here's Mr. Hill.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Chris Hill, and I am the IT manager for the city's police department. I'm here tonight to report back to you on the law enforcement cameras throughout the city of Elk Grove, as requested in February of this year. Currently, the city has approximately 175 city-owned cameras currently in operation throughout the city. We also have additional cameras that we have access to through CCSD parks and CCSD facilities. Some of the cameras currently in use, building cameras, which make up the bulk of our cameras. We have traffic and intersection cameras. We have pod or police observation devices. I'll get into a little more detail on those on the next slide. We have trailer cameras. In addition to that, all of our patrol vehicles are outfitted with in-car cameras, and all of our patrol staff are issued body-worn cameras as well. And then 30 of the city E-Tran buses are also outfitted with internal and external cameras. So pod camera systems are what's typical and what people see. We see on the news, we see them around big cities and stuff. So pod cameras, cost of a pod camera is normally $11,000, $13,000, depending on the kind of camera you want to put in, how long you want to keep that video, and then the installation costs. There's pros and cons to these pods. The pros, they're fast and easy to deploy, and we strap them to a pole, plug them in, and we're done. The cons of these pods, so this pod is a complete individual system. It's a complete system, so it's got onboard computers and storage and wireless connectivity, all this stuff. So they're very complex. They're cumbersome to maintain. Lots of times they're cumbersome to use as well. You have to log into these individual systems as you go along. Sometimes they are slow to operate because they're connected over cellular connectivity. So at times we actually decrease our video quality just to try to compensate for some of those speed issues. So our solution to solve the pod issue is to bring up our own wireless network within the city of Elk Grove. We've had some initial discussions with CCSD. They have kind of the same requirement right now for some of their stuff. They're in need of a wireless infrastructure. This would be a high-speed, secure network that would literally span every square mile of the city. This would allow us to deploy cameras quickly and easily. We would have, instead of having a pod, you would now just have literally a camera and an antenna. So it's going to reduce our cost greatly by almost half. And then all these cameras will operate seamlessly like they're just attached to this building, so no more logging into cameras. So we'll have one giant global system. We'd have centralized storage instead of having videos stored around the city in different locations. This project would be a shared cost between the city and CCSD. That project would utilize CCSD's physical infrastructure, their real estate, and most importantly, their tower space, which is critical for a project like that. In addition to that, next year we plan to build what we're calling the ARTIC, or the Real-Time Information Center. So this ARTIC is going to be a central point for us to operate all of our cameras and bring all these camera feeds back, as well as other incoming information. The ARTIC is basically right behind this wall. There's a few offices. We plan to take the wall down between those two offices, make it one large room. So you can picture we'll have a few workstations there and a large, almost 14-foot monitor on that wall to be able to monitor some of these cameras live and assist the officers out in the field. We'll also have other incoming information in there. So right now, the officers in the field, they're pretty much on information overload in their cars. You know, they have all these search tools and cameras and information feeds and everything. And oh, by the way, they need to respond quickly to calls and drive vehicles and things of that nature. So our goal with this ARTIC is really to bring a lot of that function out of those cars and in here. So we'd have an employee sitting here. When an officer needs assistance, they would be able to run those search queries, feed them information, operate cameras live, be able to give them firsthand awareness of what's going on at a scene if we have a camera at that location. So it'll greatly increase that officer's efficiency and definitely their safety as well. So in summary, we're going to continue to work with CCSD to bring up a private high-speed wireless network. We're going to build our real-time information center. We do have plans to deploy additional cameras throughout the city next year. And to meet these initiatives, there's no current requests for additional funding at this time. And I'm available for questions or comments.
Questions? Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good to meet you, too.
Thank you.
The man behind all the IT infrastructure. So a couple of things. First of all, I think this is a great investment towards a resilient community. Communications is extremely important, maintaining that. So I appreciate the investment in improving that. The question I had is, before the recent hackings, I would have taken for granted this is going to be a secure network, that kind of thing. So I'd like to understand, one, what are we doing to ensure we've got an encrypted system and that kind of thing, protected. And then, as it pertains to the cameras themselves, are we looking, or have we investigated also sound triangulation? Is that a feature in here as well?
Yes. So the first question as far as security, yeah, we obviously take security very seriously. We manage the 911 center that's locked down and secure. We literally have the wireless infrastructure of all of our police cars driving around the city right now that's highly secured, it's encrypted. So we definitely understand that technology, and we'll definitely implement that. The other piece of that is that network will be a complete standalone network. It won't be tied into the police network or city networks in any way. We'll be able to access that network. The information on it is park cameras, traffic cameras, things like that. There's no law enforcement sensitive information or anything that'll be on that network, but yes, it will be secured and lockdown, for sure.
Sound triangulation.
Sound triangulation, thank you.
Sure.
Yes, we have looked into that. Currently in the city, we don't have a lot of shots fired, we don't have a lot of gunshot activity. We've looked into it, it is a pretty expensive technology. There are a few components, there's a few things coming up in the future that we've seen that might greatly reduce that cost. So yes, that's definitely on our radar, and it's something we do visit from time to time. That's something we could look into further if you'd like us to, for sure.
Well, do you view that technology as a further deterrent from those types of crimes, or?
It certainly could be a deterrent, and I think we've talked about in another presentation in this chamber previously, and maybe individually, about the technology supporting, some of the technology at least supporting the opportunity to do that kind of triangulation for sound. There are standalone systems. You may have some familiarity with what they call ShotSpotter. That's a standalone system that is solely monitoring for sound at a certain decibel level. What we're contemplating here would be perhaps endeavoring to find a camera technology that has the added benefit of providing that type of decibel monitoring. So that's certainly on the table. Mr. Hill and I did receive a demonstration of a unit that's purported to be capable of doing that. We've yet to see those units arrive here for testing, but we certainly plan to vet that kind of technology, and that absolutely could be an additional deterrent.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, you mentioned the collaboration with CSD.
Yes.
Is there any reason we're not collaborating with the school district?
CSD was an obvious choice because they have the 88-foot towers around the city, which is pretty much crucial in this project. And they're in the same boat. They have a need for a wireless network as well. So we kind of crossed paths trying to do some of the similar things. We definitely could reach out to the school district and see if they have a need as well. So we could do that.
I mean, there may be a savings by volume if we put them, could get actually a bigger system quicker.
Yeah.
With them as a partner.
We can
But
definitely
I think, you know, if, as you mentioned, if we can eventually, with surveillance, cover every major intersection in the city of Elk Grove, I think that would be phenomenal. And the entry and exit to every major neighborhood, that would be a huge deterrent. And obviously a great asset for if somebody does commit a crime, to be able to hopefully track them down. And I mean, you guys do a great job already, but there's always room for improvement, right?
Okay. Questions? No? Are you by any chance missing a cell phone?
I am. I thought I left it in my office, but maybe.
It's in the restroom, men's restroom.
Okay.
And I figured it out.
That's good to know. That's good to
It's
know.
sitting in
Thank you.
there. But anyways, I am curious, you mentioned something about the center and having the ability to remotely view what the officer's viewing for situational awareness.
Yeah, so what I was referring to in that is like a perfect example is like an intersection. If we have an intersection accident, we'd be able to pull that up quickly before an officer could ever respond there. And be able to give them firsthand awareness of what's going on in that situation. Also another example, that would be like parks. We respond to parks quite often. We'd be able to do that from that information center there, look into that park, see what's going into that park, and what's taking place in there, and give them
So
that
it's the
information.
stationary camera that you could.
We have some stationary cameras, but most of our cameras are pan tilt zoom cameras as well. So we have the ability to move around, zoom in, zoom out.
Not the officer's camera in the car or
Not
the
the
body
officer's
camera?
camera in the car, no.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right. And at this point, I want to open for public comment. Seeing that there are no speakers signed up to speak, I want to close public comment. And council deliberation and direction.
Receive.
All right. Receive and file. All right. Thank you. I want to adjourn the meeting at 9:26 p.m.